we actually have the pieces, all of them. And as we get further into, I'm going to share the whole systems design, and then as we go into introductions of each of the 4 ecosystems that are present a little bit later in the meeting, we'll get more in depth as to what pieces are in the field that connect to the 13 sectors of the planetary whole systems design. So at this moment, I'm going to share my screen and take you guys on a little journey. Can everyone see that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so the whole systems design is here. Okay. Lindsay, could you please share with us the geometry that we're working with here that is a part of the Sphere Foundation, your organization, and I will pull up the geometry. Okay.
Absolutely. So this particular version that she's showing is in evolution. One of the things that has been shown to me very clearly is that the geometry functions really well without any words or concepts on it. It's something that a lot of people have seen, and we're not saying that it's the absolute solution, but it's a tool that we chose to use today because it is incredibly helpful to what we're doing. And I think that this is a really important piece of these new systems designs, is there isn't a one solution fits all, as we all know. And so this particular one is something that has come through to me as systems design, and also people that I've been working with, that is really, really powerful. And so it's the 12 around 1, or what I like to call the 13 evolve. And it is a matrix that we can plug into our values or concepts that we're working with or different people. And it's an organization tool, and it's a method of creating synergy. It's one of many that we'll be using together as they come up, and we'll also be discarding together as they're no longer pertinent or relevant. And so in this moment, this was relevant to us, and so we choose to use this. Every number is aligned to an alchemical archetype that has been created in the nature of the cosmos. And there's been a lot of work done around that, choosing a really, really profound vocabulary that really supports this geometry. And so we have plugged this proposal into this geometry to move forward with ease and grace. So thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So that's how we set this up to guide us through the different sectors, so to say. And this is, you know, the embodiment of the human experience, so to say. And so we'll start from the top, and we'll go around clockwise, and then we'll end with receptivity, which Lindsay will present to us more about that. So I'm gonna guide us through. Accessibility. So we are working with pioneers in each one of these fields. Okay. Accessibility is gamified and holonic UX, UI interface, and user experiences. This will completely replace how we interact with the web. Discovery, learning and education portals. We are working with the pioneers of education, learning, and discovery. Integrity, universal co-governance. The universal co-governance that we've been developing allows for all other governance models to plug in and have tools to function with. So what you'll see here as we go through the whole systems design is, once again, we're not creating something to say this is how you do it. We're actually co-designing and co-evolving a universal framework for everyone else's models and processes to plug into. Framework: holonic architectures, universal systems design, and holistic models. Resources: holistic economic ecosystem that includes new paradigm bank models. Embodiment: innovation centers and synergy hubs. Technology: distributed, decentralized ecosystem for data storage, security, information exchange, and application development with a new ecosystem of localized internet servers. Regeneration: ecological restoration of the planet and biodynamic village and city design. Vitality: deep planetary wealth and well-being, the bioresonance field of the planet and the human race. Culture: new Earth transformational events and tours. You can look at this as the planetary seeding to rebuild the planet and activate human potential. Relations: mapping and communications. Integration: conscious media. Receptivity: observation, stewardship, guardianship of the framework as it evolves. So I just want to bring back in that each of these were just an overall landscape. Once again, we are working with the pioneers in each one of these spheres. And lastly, once I introduce the organizations that are in the fields that we have in this meeting, you will begin to see more depth of what that really means as far as working with the pioneers in these different spheres. Lindsay, could you share with us more about the receptivity?
Absolutely. So just briefly, I did say it a little bit before, but as we move forward together, this is the core sphere that will carry us through. It is the integration of the masculine and feminine to really, truly be receptive to all of the new information that is coming forward, so that we can also be incredibly discerning of all of the new information that's coming forward. We must first receive. That does not mean that we have to take it in and fully integrate it into who we are, but to receive it, to give it some time, to hear our brothers and sisters out, to hear the people who are passionate about what we're bringing forth and have something to offer. So we can find out, as the pioneers, as the people who are holding this DNA, to actually know where to place these people who want to activate, who want to help. And so that receptivity portion is really, really important. And it's the sacred feminine that is holding all of the sacred masculine of our super powerful golden innovated minds that have been cohorting with our heart space, with our will, with our cosmic will to make all of this happen. It is the receptivity, the true deep listening, to hear people out and wait for our brothers and sisters to finish their thought before we share it with them, to even take a moment to pause before we relate back or reflect or answer what they're asking of us. So I just wanted to really ground that in as an incredibly important piece and why it was so important for us to have the listening space holders in this meeting. So thank you. So after this, if I can actually get out of my full screen.
While Lindsay's looking for this, I would like to just reference that there's a Google Docs link for those of you who weren't in here yet in the chat. And if you could just click on that, you'll have full access to our foundational documents. And in the first sector of that spreadsheet, you will see the links that we're reviewing throughout this meeting.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just give it over to Amber again to continue with the whole systems design and introduce the mind map as a whole before diving into all of the individual ecosystems.
Actually, Lindsay, I think we were going to ask everyone if they we were going to do a 10-minute weather report here.
I think that's after the mind map, but if you want to do it right now, that I'm in flow.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to do a resonance check right now.
Great.
On the whole systems design, and then I'll dive into the 4 ecosystems.
Wonderful. Yeah, so then the floor is open for anyone that has something to say. You can either send me I would actually prefer for you to send me a private message in the chat and say, I have a share. And then that way we'll have a message going, and then I can kind of be able to talk to you and keep anything in coherence. So the floor is open. If anybody has any thoughts, feelings, and reflections of, does this feel aligned, this proposal and the overview of the 13 different sectors, just for our working use right now, if there's anything that is missing or anything else that is coming up that we should be made aware of. Josh, hi, brother. Good to see you.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I had definitely one thing that popped up in my head that I was looking at under access. I think a lot for me in my experience, a lot of what access represents is being able to, depending on your experience, access not only the difference between open source platforms and something that in this day and age we still might consider private information. So as we build out the new paradigm, we decide what is open source so we can build that foundation that we all share. And that might include access to different centers and locations too. And then also on the agreements, on the co-governance, this is something I might get into later, but the word governance for me is an interesting one. I've been using the word agreements, and that's just something both are fine, and there's a definite distinction. That's it.
Thank you, Josh, for your share. Very pertinent information, and definitely going to be taking that down for integration, because we truly are creating a vocabulary together. You know, the old vocabulary wasn't working for us, and I know that a lot of us have had moments in time where we're like, I don't even know if the words are here for me to talk about what we're trying to do. And it's happened over and over again. So I'm really grateful for everybody's real discernment to the language that we're using and really extracting the essence of what's the best. So thank you. Anyone else?
I have a little comment about that, in that, I'm a connector of many communities, and each has its own language, and yet we're seeking to cooperate with them. We will never agree on the same language. Each tribe, each circle has its own language that it develops, which we're embodying in the social ledger as part of this effort, which is a tremendous opportunity. But the links between the circles have to act as the translators in order for us to collaborate at scale.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome. Happy to have you here. Welcome, Gary. So happy to have you here. Welcome, Alex. Thank you for showing up. It's a pleasure to have you.
If there isn't anything else, we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, yeah, Tan.
Am I done?
Just so you're aware, we were using the chat thread to have a stack. So there may be some other people in there doing what we were doing. We weren't waving, we put it in the chat. Has it crashed? Lindsay, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Linz.
Thanks. So Brett and then Jan.
Yeah, hello everyone. We'll get to do some introductions shortly, but it's just beautiful to see all your faces.
Hi, Tan.
Familiar faces here too. So I'm Tan from the Infinite World game and Together platform. We'll talk about who we are shortly, but just a few reflections. The first one is from our perspective, is that this geometry, this wheel in the future will be a dynamic system. So we will be able to resolve all these tensions that we have. It will emerge organically, and you'll be able to view it through lots of different lenses in the way that the gentleman just described, because technology makes that entirely possible. I'm sure that we've all got a lot to say on that wheel, so I'll just leave that comment there. My main reflection was that I feel that when I see those 12 sectors right now, and again, because they're not static for me, this doesn't really matter too much, but it's an energetic thing that if we're describing this new whole system, that presence there is the interpersonal dimension. And I'm not sure where it sits, Lindsay, in that geometry, but dealing with our consciousness, our emotional guidance system, personal development, it feels that that has to be present. It's so crucial to this new whole system. So maybe you can respond to that. And then I think we have as a group some thoughts about what goes at the heart of that wheel to enable the wheel to function as a whole system. And I'm talking about it's the functional center. So I think we would align with that energetic receptivity, but we do think that there's a function there that's to do with the central nervous system of the whole wheel. So I'll leave it there. And Mona's obviously wanting to say something too.
Yeah, I was echoing the same thing that Ted about the embodiment, really of the whole, and the personal embodiment at the center, and also just the importance of, part of when we speak of whole systems design, we are integrating different geometries for different functions. So the wheel, that's the 12 around 1 or the 13 is a particular function, and then there's also the 7 levels of co-creation, or the different, that is sort of like the 7 chakras of a social body. There's sort of different, there's different geometries playing a different functions in the whole system is part of what we're seeing.
Absolutely. I will respond very briefly, and Amber has something to say to this particular ask, and then we'll move on to Jan. So for me, I'm in full receptivity of any kind of evolution of it. I also see it as a dynamic thing that our technology hasn't been able to quite do the function that it's been shown to me that it does. And also just solidifying or just restate that this is one of many different systems design aspects that we can use, and that it's not bound and it's not permanent, and everything is able to be moved into a greater coherence as the technology allows us to do it. And as we need to dispense of these things because they're no longer relevant, also amazing and awesome. And the one of the aspects of the 13 Evolve is it has all of the numbers within it. So if your group operates with sevens, then you can plug into that geometry with the 7 geometry in the 4th dimension and work with the 7. If your group resonates with 5 different aspects, you can plug in and use the 5. If you want to use the 4, and so on. So it just depends on the application, and it's really about tailoring it to how it best serves you and not doing it because it's supposed to be the answer. Like, what's of service? And also, hi, I love you so much, Mona and Juan. I love you. I'll talk to you soon, but I'm just so happy to see you. Oh my God. So I'll hand it on to Amber after that, if that felt good and clear.
Yes. So I would like to respond to that, Tan. And I see the collective intelligence actually being the neurons that connect all the spheres, right? So that's like the spirit and the collective intelligence is like, yeah, it's the neurons throughout all of that. So, and once again, the technology will be able to express that in the digital realm. You know, I don't see how we could share that necessarily outside the digital realm as clearly. So,
well, I would love to just bring it back and have Jan be able to share, and same with Ray, and Natan has something as well, and then we're going to close the Q&A just to honor time. So be as brief and heart-centered as you can in your shares, and let's continue with Jan.
Thank you. So I will be very brief. First of all, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the introduction and the feeling of the field. There's really a heart space that is really there building up between us. And I could really feel that very tangibly and really beautifully. So I really enjoyed the energy that we really formed together as a team. It's really good. The second thing regarding the wheel, I think it's pretty good and balanced way of getting started. And I would personally feel confident about just starting with that and seeing if on the go any tension is arising with that, we can always evolve it. I had just a little comment regarding the regenerative practices for ecology. I think the biodynamic, as far as I know, is a pretty specific Steiner-related practice, which feels not generic enough, in my own opinion, to fit into that picture. So I just wanted to know how you use that word, or if you can use a different word that is more generic. That's about it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Just to respond to that, I totally agree. Biodynamics is one of the most integrated forms of practice agriculture that I've actually seen embodied, which is probably why we chose it, but so open to more vocabulary around that, and that might be something that we can work on together in the future.
you were paused or muted, Lindsay, again?
Ray, I apologize.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I just wanted to say that I always, me personally, always, being that I don't particularly tap into any particular resonance of particular numbers, which is just my thing, I always get a little bit tense around the specific, the inference that there must be this particular number that we all align around. And it's okay, because I know that if that number is meant to resonate as a fundamental formation between the organization of collectives that are of the web we're building, that's what will happen. And by the end of this meeting, we're actually going to propose very specific ways that we can allow an organic web to form and visually watch it congeal through the pathfinding. It will automatically show us what kind of shape it's taking and how many branches off the center there might be forming organically. And I love that idea. And then second to the language, yeah, I think it's really critical that we allow each other to be in an open-hearted space where we can in tune to the intentions of the speaker or the documents that we're seeing, and not get hung up on language right now specifically, but know the deepest intentions that are being put forth. And as things progress with our organizational capacities as a global team, we will begin to resonate on particular language that feels good without getting hung up on it at any particular time. So those are really two critical things, I think, that we can just move past with ease and grace if we allow ourselves to. Thank you.
Oh, and truly heard. Thank you so much, Ray. I see you, Jim, but I'm going to go to Nathan. He is up in the queue, and then we'll have one quick comment, but then we really must move on to the next thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Ray. That really spoke a lot to what I was going to say, and that's the idea that we're going to be figuring out a structure by the end of this call that we want to move forward with, so that we can have cohesion in how we communicate and create together. And I know that we're going to be making a lot of openness for variation and for bringing in new forms, and at the same time knowing that that's really great early on, and as we move further along as an organization or as a cohesive unit, some of that structures want to get more established, so that there's an ease and efficiency of how we work together, that we don't have to take a lot of time every time in order to reestablish the structures and the language, that it becomes structured in a way that is going to make a scale of efficiency, so that we can actually evolve and grow and take on more of the planet into this new framework that we're developing. And yes, thank you. And I'm going to be listening in, and a part of my time I might have to jump in and out of video. So, but I'm completely with you, and I'll be listening for the duration of the call.
And thank you, Nathan. We'll have one last comment from Jim, and then we're going to move on to the next segment.
Yeah, I think we have the point that we're coming to here is that we're doing top-down organization, and we're making a game, and we agree on the 7. Bottom-up is self-organization, and so the top-down will meet the bottom-up, and 7 is a great number. I mean, it's prime. It's the number of things we can keep in our mind at one time. I think it's a great number for the purpose of this community.
Absolutely. I love the 7 as well, and the 7 has always come through in the alchemical archetypes as technology, as the portal, as the bridge from one state of being to another, and the 12 or the 13 has always been everything all at once. And so me as like one individual, I wouldn't necessarily be able to keep track of all the 12, but me in resonance with my cohorts can, and my personal operations would be 6 and 7. And so it's really just naturally plugging into the geometries so that we can work with them and allow them to self-organize. And like Nathan was saying, and like Ray was saying, that it will show us how to come together. But just for the sake of communication, we're going to use the tools that we have available to us now. And then as we start doing it together, I mean, we've never really done this before collectively. And so just giving ourselves the patience and the grace to really allow those things in receptivity to come forward and be totally embodied. So thank you everyone for your shares. I'm going to just take one moment to have a few breaths and close your eyes and come into your heart and just really integrate everything that you just heard. That feels good, and I will hand it back over to Amber to start exploring the ecosystems.
Okay, I just had to find my unmute button. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the ecosystems, and then I'm going to introduce some of the pioneers that we have in the room today from those ecosystems. And I'll do by ecosystem. I do want to make a mental note. I have been nonstop preparing for this meeting, from just laying out documents, designing for about 3.5 weeks now. I've been working about 12 to 15 hour days and getting everything really, really tight. And there are two things missing from the spreadsheet. If you go to the spreadsheet, you will see there is a sheet tab that says stack 1. Okay. There are two organizations that got information to me a little bit later in the game, which is Social Ledger as well as Enlightened Structure. And so I would like to, when it comes to that, I would just hand it over to Jem to do, a 1 minute on what Social Ledger is. So that way I don't, and I'll just plug it in after the meeting and we'll just go through it that way. The other one is Enlightened Structure, and that is Harlan, which will be here the last 30 minutes of the meeting. So basically, I'm going to take us through the ecosystems and the organizations, and then, maybe if I could have 30 seconds at the end to just kind of jump over to the Enlightened Structure document, so I can give a little bit of a brief there, but I will need a minute on that. So that's where we're at. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. So the first ecosystem is the social architecture. Okay. Great. So the New Earth Global Alliance Social Architecture Ecosystem. As breakthrough technologies and innovations shift the way we are able to collectively organize and use resources, social and interpersonal tools are emerging to take advantage of these developments and bring forth a post-industrial culture of enhanced synergy, well-being, and collective thrivability. New Earth social architects are whole systems thinkers operating in the fields of integral design, psychology, and empowerment, collective organization, collective intelligence orchestration, economics, and biomimetics to create new social operating systems that support our collective adaptation to enlightened systems. Newer social architecture and processes are focused on the empowerment of co-creative and collaborative approaches that foster self-organization, sharing, conscious self-development, synergistic relationships, holographic structures, collective intelligence, and social evolution. So I created these intros so you would understand what you would find in the NEGA ecosystem for social architecture. Now, below you see the models that we feel are in the highest resonance for human and planetary evolution at this time, which is holographic, which comes from the Infinite World Game and Together group, Holikrati from Jan Eperon, who's in the call. We have teal, holacracy, spiral dynamics, and sociocracy. Once again, this is a part of the universal framework of NEGA, is that we're not telling any one way to go about it, which if you look at the holacracy organization and many of all the organizations that are consulting and promoting that, they are representing that is a lot of them the best way to go. And so we want to kind of break down that construct and that barrier, and we want to give people coming to the NEGA platform to be able to choose which one feels best for them. And that's really important for people to create their own unique story and how they want to go about, interacting. So with that being said, we'll jump over to the spreadsheet. So we have School of Social Alchemy, which specializes in the design and facilitation of co-creative processes, structures, and education. The Hague Center, Center for Global Governance, Innovation, and Emergence. The Whole World View. The Cosmic Hologram, inclusive and practical approach to collectively generating solutions to the current complex challenges in the world. Holacracy, social architecture model, consulting, spiritual leader, conscious business. S7, synergistic co-creative systems that embody socio-technological innovation for spirit-motivated social action. So what we have, yes? Someone say something? Okay. So what we have here in this ecosystem that you're seeing and the people that are present representing these different organizations, this is a framework that we have. And so this is, once again, what we're going to is frameworks. And so, yeah, we'll just continue on to each cluster and you'll see that. Yes?
So in our facilitation, so after we introduce that, we're going to have everybody do their little 2-minute intro for themselves.
Yes.
So we can all meet each other before we go into the next landscape. So let's meet our social architecture people. So we can start now with the School of Social Alchemy. And if you'd like to get on and just share with us a brief intro of what you're doing, answering the questions that we have in the document. What is the most alive for you right now in practical, grounded application? And why is it a game changer? Why is it something that is next level? So we're really focusing on the stuff that we can implement now. Not what's kind of coming up, but what is happening, what's the most alive. So let's go with it. School of Social Alchemy, welcome.
Yeah, so this School of Social Alchemy, part of the Infinite World game. So she's going to tell you about that in a moment, but we just want to share our screen. We've got some slides, if that's okay. I don't know how to do it from here. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I just want to give a little context that the School of Social Alchemy, as 7 and light beings right now, have joined together into what is called Together, and we're co-creating with the Infinite World game. So all of us are obviously interested in taking synergistic co-creation to scale, and we realized, of course, we have to embody and practice what we preach. So we came together to really join our social architectures, economic architectures, technology into a whole system platform. And so, yeah, this is what is now Together. So we'll be speaking on behalf of Together, as well as the parts of Together, which are what you can see here. So I'm going to speak on behalf of the social architecture of Together, which is a synergy of 7, so the School of Social Alchemy and the light beings. So in terms of our social architecture for what we're, the Infinite World game that we're co-creating, we have a number of different elements that are part of this platform. So one thing is what we call the hollow ships. So this is like a vehicle vessel for enabling co-creation, and it's also with a pretty sophisticated facilitative navigation system. It combines holonic technology with biomimetic co-creation process. There's also a co-creation structure based on a holarchy and social body. So from micro to macro organizing, from personal to levels of collectives. We have hollow sourcing, which is kind of a transcendence of open source to shared stewardship, shared ownership, that go along with synergistic agreements to enable us really to all really merge and combine and in different and new ways. All of our systems are really rooted and based in a unity consciousness, and also involve personal and social alchemy embedded into the definition of co-creation. So that's just sort of an overview of what's really like what we're really working on and prototyping and embodying here in Mexico right now, in the Synergy Hub that we're located in Tepoztlan. So yeah, and then of course that's to be embedded. Also we have sort of social acupuncture as well. So these are all different elements, and there's also more, and why they are a game changer. They are, planetary level. It's like really transcending, I would say, like sociocracy or holocracy into what we call social body organizing. So it's really like the organization of a being that will include, of course, holonic and other types of structures within that. It also, in the definition of co-creation, includes the recognition of our creatorhood, and that we are creators, and so embeds in that sort of that we show up as creators and move from victimhood to creatorhood, and the personal evolution and consciousness and reality that consciousness precedes matter. And so the spiritual dimension, or socio-emotional dimension.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop you just because we're going to keep to our time, and I feel like that was a really beautiful and complete share for the School of Social Alchemy, and so grateful for the work that you're doing, and thank you for bringing it to such an amazing level since the last time we spoke. I'm looking forward to learning more about that. Let's move on to the Hague Center, the Center of Global Governance, Innovation, and Emergence.
You know what, Lindsay, you can actually, I mean, the Hague Center is, let's see. The Hague Center School of Social Alchemy and S7, really, as we said, we were more speaking on behalf of Together, so I don't need to speak about the Hague Center because it includes a spiral dynamics dimension of what was already just described. So. Oh,
beautiful. So the School of Social Alchemy, the Hague Center, and S7 are working as together, just to clarify.
And the light beings are working as together.
Beautiful. Look at another holon has already been birthed into our consciousness.
Perhaps something around the Hague Center. Right now, there is an element that the Hague Center is also working at the city level. There's an element of how do we bring governance, some new ways of governance, within the city. And some of the partners there is Inaugural City with and the opportunities and values on how to bring this work into cities. So I know they're working like in Russia, Poland, different places.
Yeah, that stuff's really alive right now, actually, and grounding the integral city work and a lot of stuff, good stuff happening there. Yeah.
And I just want a presence as part of Together, given that Mona's representing S7, the Hague Center, and so on. Really important, you have holacracy and all these different titles on the document. We describe our system as synergistic co-creation. So when you go, that's our equivalent, just to really name that as a definition. I don't think so.
Heard. Synergistic co-creation will be in the vocab.
And when we speak on the economics and tech part, we're also speaking as this bigger group. And it's just the lens of economics, the lens of social architecture, the lens of tech through Together. So thank you for everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. So just
you muted again. You muted again.
Sorry. Thank you. You're helping me facilitate really well. So just a little window on, what is happening within our groups is a lot of us are specializing in certain things because that's our sole purpose, but also are providing these amazing connections and doing quantum activities within the holacracy or within this new holistic model where we're jumping and we're actually embodying in multiple different things. And this is the kind of thing that when we're looking at systems design is so important for us to kind of break out of being forced within a structure and try to pull it into the fourth dimension and really see it in a fourth dimensional reality, because we can look at these different organizational methods on our screens with the technology that we have, and it's still separatist in the way that it looks. But I invite us all to see beyond that, see how when the geometry is pulled into multiple dimensions, how it can work and how we can cross and interrelate. So as we go through these landscapes, it's all a part of the new earth. Same earth, different landscapes, different views, different perspectives. All of the lands are connected. And so it's a more integrative thing. That was just something that came up, and then I'll bring it to Amber.
Thank you, Lindsay. That was beautiful. I would like to share with everyone that as I spoke about in the introduction of this ecosystem, that there were several different models, which ties into what Lindsay said. But I would also like to mention that in this first meeting, I have brought what I have been shown through intuitive guidance as well as research. The people that you see in each one of these sectors, I have brought the highest order of information. So to me, what Together is bringing is the highest order of information as far as social architecture. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarity, Amber. And we'll move on to the Holicratie. And Jan is the representative. Jan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I will share some links in the chat so that you have some further possibility to discover what I was doing and inquiring into. So the first is about slides that you can just have a look later. And the second is about just all the docs that I have gathered in English, because most of my documents are actually in French. But I have quite some information as well in English that you can also have a look. So Holicracy is an inquiry into the very structure of the universe as being the one who plays as being the many, and had that kind of intuition that what does it mean when one becomes the many, or at least appears to be many, and there is some kind of underlying structure between the interdependent parts that are showing up as complementary individualities, expression of a singular consciousness. And this is the very basis of Holicracy, is to connect and syntonize to that matrix of life, as we could call it, or this sacred architecture. That's the very root. And from that root, I developed some embodiment, some social architecture that is kind of reflecting that core reality that is beyond the human perspective, into some kind of natural way of connected to each other in symbiosis and in synergy. And then how it translates into practices, how it translates into way of doing decision making together or separate as individuals, and how we can organically, in a very flowing way, develop some emergent ecosystems that are consistent and coherent. So that's very shortly and briefly said what it is about. And the thing is that it's developing a very generic framework that can also be specified in a way that can fit the teal perspective or the holacracy or sociocracy. So it's very generic because it kind of takes some height. And from that space, you can always go down into something more specific, more customized to specific social groups. So in that sense, it's it's an easy way to start because it's very open. And it's allowed to be so open because it's grounded into universal principles and into spiritual embodiment. So that's the two keys to make that open design work functionally. So I think I would just stay at that and just let you discover later more, and always be open for any discussion and questions about it.
Thank you so much, Jan. That was very clear, and thank you for the documents so we can study on our own time. This is going to be really important for us sharing in the future, is just for us to share what is relevant and pertinent with each other to look on in our other times outside of the meetings. So thank you. I think that's everybody else got introduced in the new social architecture. Hi, Adam. Welcome.
Can we have the social ledger in there somewhere?
Do you have, Amber, do you have a answer to that, social ledgering?
Yes, so actually I had the social ledger in the technology part, in the technology ecosystem, but I feel, Jim, I know that a lot of these pieces are all interconnected and working in many of the fields. So it was even a bit difficult to break them up into ecosystems. So if you would like to speak a bit on social architecture now, and for everyone to know that it is technological applications for social architecture to support the self-organizing of social architecture. So Jem, does that feel good? Would you like to speak upon that?
Yeah, I think there's the technical aspect and there's the conceptual aspect. And here we have language problems again, and the language of the social ledger is something different, maybe foreign, and it's really coming out of the digital life collective, where holacracy is a dirty word. It's hierarchical. It's it's just a special case of sociocracy that's general, what we want to form. So the social ledger really is everything out there that is about you and your interaction with each other. Social objects are things that connect us. Documents, task support systems, Zoom. So they represent the network of the things that we do together, and it organizes it in terms of holonic structures, giving things identity holographically from every context they exist in. That's unique persona for the social objects and other objects like people. I'll just stop there, and then I can do a little demo and show the technology later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ray, or Jim? Jim. Yes, thank you so much, Jim. I fully agree, and I'll continue to presence because it's kind of almost a mantra to invite us into the understanding that as the systems come in, a lot of these frictions and these tensions are going to fall away as we're able to be served in the way that we need to be. But just for the sake of focus and time to just see what pieces are coming in to plug into this holographic matrix that we've never actually witnessed working before. So we're really we're in this birthing phase, and it's not very easy. There's lots of tension. We have to breathe a lot, and I think that the databases that are supporting all of this is in the technology aspects of it. And so we're just kind of showing these different ecosystems, and they are overlapping and quantum. So they're not separate, but just for the sake of communication, because we're working with what we got, we have separated them, and so we could move with time, as it is Kronos's time right now. So if there's any other ideas or things, so we're going to go into, as we move forward, a short Q&A after every ecosystem, and we're going to be faster in the other ones because this one was kind of like starting to go off of tangent, but where we'll introduce everybody and then ask those 3 questions. Is there anything missing? And Jim just stepped up naturally. One of the things that might be missing is the ledger. And so definitely taking notes to bridge those gaps. Is there anything missing? Does this feel aligned that these people are bringing in the social architecture in these groups? And then is there anything missing or anything that needs to be made aware of?
Yes, I would like to mention one other to tie this ecosystem up.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've put, now you can see the mind map on Kumu. So whole world view, which is Gavin Peacock, who is here in the meeting. Well, he was here. Gavin, are you still with us?
I am indeed, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so whole world view unites compelling scientific evidence across multiple fields of research and all scales of existence. It reconciles with universal spiritual experiences to reveal the unified nature of reality. So I would like to have Gavin speak upon this and all that beautiful social architecture, the alchemy of it, and kind of tapping into that field. I feel like, this is another real world application that we can start taking those universal or these social architecture models into the world. And Gavin has created multiple different platforms to be able to do this. And the whole world view, I feel, is highly resonant with the social architecture field. Gavin, could you share with us more about this?
Well, you're very generous in your introduction, Amber. Thank you very much. Very briefly, trying to keep it to less than 2 minutes. I came to Riga. I was in an investment banking background for a long time, and a few years ago left JP Morgan to go exploring. Cut to now, and I came out to Riga just under 4 weeks ago for a launch event for a new social change reactor, kind of like a social CERN, super collider. Just very conscious of so many amazing people and amazing projects happening around the world, and I wanted to find ways to help with the weaving and the synergy and syntony, as has already been expressed so beautifully. And so with Whole World View, when I started collaborating with them, I kind of brought to the party really some work by Donella Meadows, as well as many others, and that was in respect to leverage points, places to intervene in a system, and basically, what kind of triggers help, what kind of conditions help to shift paradigms. And in fact, Donella's number one sort of leverage point was the power to transcend paradigms. And so that brought me into Whole World View, the reactor here in Riga, and basically developing plans or co-developing plans for the infinite game. So that taps in really nicely with what together we're speaking about in terms of infinite world game. I went back to James Carsey's book of 1986, and I've been speaking with kind of many people about this, because lots of people have tried to do something with that philosophy and sort of turn it into a game. And I think that the timing is beautiful now for many of the people in this group and others that we're connected to massively increase the messaging and the engagement of what art and science are telling us. And so I guess my main thing really is the fact that it is coming back to what some are calling, unity consciousness or natural intelligence or, universal intelligence. And it's how we can use the not just the tools and amazing tools and technologies that we have, but the very human storytelling. And I think we can do that really, really engagingly through basically, social impact games as one aspect of that. And I think the Infinite Game will be a game changer. Forgive the pun, but it was intended.
Excellent.
I'll stop there. Yeah.
Thank you, Gavin. So we're going to hand this over to Amber. So we have a really beautiful tie-in of everything that's happening. And we're going to move on to the ecosystem of co-governance as it is named now, highly evolving in this moment. But Amber.
Yes. So back to what I was saying, as far as the last 3.5 weeks, I've basically been working on everything. Myself, and I've been having meetings with everyone to just get clear that we're kind of all in this, we're all getting the same message, that it's really time to come together. And the fine tuning of what needed to be said on the mind map or in the specific ecosystems, there wasn't a chance to get that far. So we're going to do a lot of, things that need to be added or shifted. Once the meeting is over, I will update the mind map with everyone's request. With that being said, Ray has mentioned, and Josh Passmore has agreed that the co-governance be spoken about in the social architecture. So we want to give Ray the opportunity to bring that in for us. I've been working on the co-governance with Ray for 10 months, and we've now also been tapping into the Holochain team and having other people join in on that conversation, which everyone is available to join in on the co-creation of that. And I would also like to presence that Josh, the green earth vision of his organization, he feels that it should also be in the social architecture. And actually Josh was just invited to the meeting 2-3 days ago. So that is a new piece, and we would like to give them the floor to tie in the rest of the social architecture. So thank you for receiving.
So let's do Josh first, as we're talking about the social architecture, before Ray and the co-governance, so it stays coherent. And Josh, if you could keep your share under around 2 minutes, that would be great, about the Green Earth vision. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. So this is an impromptu summary here. So what we've been realizing lately, and I'm really glad to hear what you guys are doing over there, Brett, with the commingling of the different the different social architectures that are out there. Because as we get into these agreement spaces, as we decide how we work together, I would say that how we work together is even more important than a business plan. It's more important than a master plan. Because if you have a nonprofit and you can't get along with her, or you can't make decisions in your stuff, everything fails, no matter how good your ideas are. And so where we're boiling it down to even further, besides making this super model for for social architecture, which we can all start to agree on. We're running a declaration of agreements meeting, and it'll happen weekly. And I would invite one person from each company is welcome to join. And how this looks, we would create a field of agreements for universal agreements, which would be stuff that we all agree on. Very, very broad. If there's others with different values, at some point they could break off, and if there's necessary universal agreements, it would become a separate body. Within these universal agreement fields, we can create our economies. That's, in fact, there's an agreement behind everything, including our fiat currency system. And those agreements are a slave mentality, a slave culture. And it was born out of a time when slavery was prevalent. And it was okay. It was okay to have someone do something for you and make them do it. And so when we get into these new currencies, these agreement fields are very necessary in finding out who's in resident, how we're going to interact, what we're agreeing to, and then we can move forward together and create some master plans. That's about all I have for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. I saw Brett wave at the screen. Do you have something to say? No? Okay. I love you anyway. All right. So that feels good. We're actually going to have a proposal about the way that we can start making agreements together. And I think that we might have some pieces that are in service to your vision, Josh, that we'll be talking about towards the end of the meeting about actually doing both the big vision and starting with agreements within our small ecosystems as well, and not just doing the top-down agreements, because we all are here because we have universal agreements, but also having very specific ones that are in service to each of the ecosystems that we're dwelling in. So we'll go further into that at the end of the meeting and our planning for the next. So I'll hand it over to Ray to talk about co-governance. Is this clear, Amber? Okay. So we're going into New Earth co-governance, and obviously we're going to evolve this rapidly. Ray.
Yes, thank you. So I was just called to say something I've said before, which is that the co-governance project is actually a social architecture project, and it has a tech element. So, and so I just mentioned, maybe we should talk about it here, and I guess that's what we're doing. So thank you for being able to organically adjust on the fly, Lindsay and Amber, and either way would have been appropriate. So anyway, I do have a strong background in tech programming since 1980 when I was a wee lad, and then in the last 10 years of activism and social evolution and looking at the evolution of people and the transformation of people from a technical perspective, right, has been put me in a unique position to make this very bold proposal about what are the common elements of every type of organizational system. And that is what CoGov is attempting to do. So I really invite everyone that is interested in what that might be. What are the common core things that, whether you're talking about democracy or holacracy or liquid democracy or consensus or any one of the really interesting social architectures, business organizing principles, or just group dynamic systems that you like. Does this document, can you read it and can you say, yes, I see how that system could actually run on top of this. I see how that system could be boiled down into those key elements that are being proposed here. So I'm going to go ahead and share the doc now in the chat room here. We may mention it again. It's a work in progress, but it's hopefully getting close, and I would honor very much anybody who reads that and provides some feedback and joins the conversation.
And where can they do that at, Ray? On our chat room?
Yeah, there's a chat room on the Mattermost. I think we'll within the document that I just posted, you can find a link to the chat room as well. So yeah, so I think I covered it. It's really a bold goal, and I think it's close. I really, it's been a lot of thought and a lot of years, really, of boiling this down through experience in startup business and experience in activist groups, and noticing how the same dynamics do occur. And so kind of creating transparency around how an organization is operating, kind of who's holding coherence for decision making, who stands to gain if there is an equity gain within the organization. These kind of things are addressed, and we're going to be proposing within this meeting to agree on those standards in the near future and start moving forward with ways to co-evolve around all that. So it's such an important conversation. I'm honored to have the gift present to even propose, to be bold enough to make this proposal.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, I really look forward to feedback. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so I would love to just continue to represent the nature of this co-evolving project that we've all been becoming into mastery in each of our particular offerings. And now we have to be in a really great, flexible, discerning heart space alignment to allow things to unfold naturally and to participate in what our brothers and sisters are bringing to the table, and really lend a very critical and compassionate eye to what we're doing. And we're really coming together, but also letting go of the things that we might have worked super, super hard on for many years as they change into something new. So this is all really, really important, and I'm so honored that we're at this level. Amber, what is the next
Yes.
ecosphere that we're talking about?
Economics, New Earth economics. Yes. So I'll introduce us into what the NEGA New Earth economics field looks like, and then we'll go into the organizations, and we'll do the same process as we just did, and most likely with a little bit more fluidity. Okay, let me share my screen. And here we go. Okay. Computer scientists, engineers, developers.
Sorry for interrupting. This is the technology.
Oh,
not
okay.
the
It's
not the
economics. Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. New Earth economic specialists are weaving together developments in social architecture and technology to make possible economic models that transcend current materialistic ways of distributing and tracking wealth. Technology innovations such as cryptocurrencies, blockchain, holochain, ICOs, decentralized autonomous organizations are inspiring the work of economic designers looking to take to scale decentralized, resource-based, or integral wealth-defined economies. The gift economy creates a value cycle that acknowledges different streams of wealth, such as well-being, social expansion, sharing, and self-realization, which includes everything from deep impact investing, a philanthropic gift economy, ICOs, and opportunities to even create your own currencies and the value that upholds them. As these currents of thought reach greater degrees of convergence, we will begin to see the emergence of a new economic dynamic that attributes value to different kinds of interactions that are beyond material transactional exchange. And that is specifically from Andrea Harding. I would like to mention that she wrote the beginning paragraph of the New Earth economics, and she also wrote the paragraph for the social architecture. So thank you, Andrea, for assisting me in this. I would also like to read what is deep wealth. And this comes from the organization Village Lab, who is not present in this meeting, but is definitely a cohort with us. That is Fernanda Ibarra, who was going to come into the meeting, and she was not available too, but she gives us her blessing, and all of her team that she works with, Kiala Young and Jeff Clearwater, sending our heart space out to them. Thank you for this wisdom. The word wealth is derived from well-being and health. It is the sum of all things that bring well-being and health to the steward or holder of the wealth, including physical, emotional, ethical, mental, religious, and spiritual value. Wealth is much more than money or even what money can buy. Wealth included clean air and water, healthy food, healthy systems, healthy soil, beauty, art, physical, emotional, and mental health, integrity, reputation, knowledge, experience, evolutionary capacity, wisdom, and love. We recognize multiple levels of wealth, with tradable or exchangeable wealth as but one physical plane level that is transcended and included by higher evolutionary levels of wealth. In this paper, we distinguish between monetary wealth and non-monetary wealth, or integral wealth. Integral wealth, or sometimes referred to as whole systems health, is the sum of all parts, or the sum of all types of wealth, including monetary wealth. As far as it representing a paper to be read, I would like to mention that each one of these ecosystems, I have compiled the information of each organization within these ecosystems, which you can see on the spreadsheet. I am not done with the ecosystems, but I have created a Git book for each one of them. So you could see, you can go into the New Earth economic ecosystem, and you can see the pioneering organizations in there laid out. So you could actually see the whole economic landscape through one read, which I think is very valuable, and I have yet to see that. So please enjoy the resources that are on the spreadsheet. Yes, thank you. Okay. New Earth economics. Oh, we have something here. Check the chat. Okay.
I was just asking you to go through the intros, that it was time, so no worries.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay, so here in the New Earth economics ecosystem, we have Holo. By the way, Arthur Brock, another one of our cohorts, he is super busy and was not available to make this meeting. And he gives us his blessing, as Fernanda does. And so just taking a moment to send our heart space to Arthur and honoring all the work that he's doing and the game-changing technologies that he's building with his phenomenal team. And Holo and Holochain are two of those organizations that you'll see here in multiple of the ecosystems. So thank you, Arthur, for this wisdom.
Amber, of course, either Robert or I could speak at any time to Holochain related.
Yes, that was actually, sorry, I kind of went into different space for a minute, but yes, Robert and Ray are able to speak on behalf of Holo and Holochain. They are also working with the team. So thank you, Ray. Okay, Holo, where the crowd is the cloud. The creation of the internet changed everything. We believe Holo can change everything again. Holo is a community of passionate humans building a distributed cloud owned and run by users like you and me. We believe in the power of a truly peer-to-peer internet. Holochain. Holochain is distributed computing and applications, a new alternative web for truly peer-to-peer applications. Holochain application is run entirely by the people who use it. This enables direct communication without the need for corporate web servers. For any particular use case, developers can create fit-for-purpose solutions that strike the right balance between minimizing risk, reducing costs, and optimizing speed. Limitless Group. Venture into possibility, expanding, enriching, and enlivening societal wealth creation for all. Welcome to the online home of Limitless Group. We help, quote unquote, enable all to enable to creatively, courageously, and systemically shift what's possible. See Creative Finance for an outline of some of the ecosystem elements. As you can go to the website, all the information is here on the Kumu mind map. As you can see, for those of you who have not explored this yet, it is on the newearth.global, and it has pictures and all the juicy parts of each of the organizations, as well as the link to the site. So, New Earth Currency Exchange. This is part of the New Earth digital governance. One important factor to consider in the creation of a currency is whether and how that currency can be converted into access to real-world resources. To create an environment where that is possible, an exchange interface that allows one currency to be exchanged for another will be a CoGov core feature of CoGov. Okay. The simplest description of how an exchange works is that it keeps a list of everyone who wants to exchange currency A for currency B, and that quantity, in what quantity, and at what exchange rate, and attempts to match them with someone who wants to exchange currency B for currency A at that same exchange rate, and then automatically completes the transaction in real time. The integrated exchange system will allow any two systems of currency to be exchanged for each other, as well as allowing any internal currency to be exchanged for or with Bitcoin, Wave tokens, and ERG20 tokens. I would also like to mention, which I will not be getting into at this time, Raymond and I have officially created the Integrity coin, and that will also be tied into the New Earth Global Alliance operation. So we'll speak about that at a later time. Probably not even in this meeting, but I just wanted to presence that. Yeah, we created that, and it's really exciting. Unified Field Corporation, going beyond the current trend of corporate social responsibility. Unified Field Corporation is a bank model and systems development company that specializes in sustainable community partnership. Unified Field Corporation is a sustainable community partnership bank model and systems development company. We believe in positive change to create sustainable, self-reliant, and resilient communities. We believe in working diligently and sincerely together to create the prosperity we all envision. Our mission is to achieve global transformation and regeneration of our planet and humanity using new economic, financial, and business models based on oneness and applied across 9 areas of regeneration. Meta Capital and also Meta Currency Project, which is next, is Arthur Brock and Fernanda Ibarra. 4 types of impact, plus 10 types of capital, plus 4 bottom lines, aka a wisdom economy. Meta Integral Associates is a global transdisciplinary design firm. We support visionary leaders, teams, and organizations to be impact. To do this, we draw on and integrate a number of theories and their associated practices, including embodiment theory, design theory, integral theory, and developmental theory. As a result, we help you thrive in complexity, transforming the world from an embodied place of presence and purpose. We love to co-create with you, your events, products, services, books, business models, and business ecosystems, among other things. One of the things we love to do is design wisdom economies that integrate multiple forms of capital. This site is devoted to sharing with you our Meta Capital framework. the meta-capital framework. At the heart of our approach is the meta-capital framework, which includes the four types of impact, the 10 types of capital, and the 4 bottom lines, which you can further look into because it's pretty extensive. So basically it's Meta Integral Associates, and they have different sectors, and Meta Capital is one of them. Let me just check my chat here, make sure I'm okay. Okay, so Metacurrency project, developing tools and platforms for open sourcing the next economy. I'm going to continue reading like I did in the others, and then be more short as we go on for the ones in the future. I'm just reading these a bit more extensively because they're not here. So there are core principles and patterns involved in generating lush, thriving, and abundant systems. We have created a living system model of wealth, which enables communities and organizations to build deep wealth, rather than just a shallow accumulation of numbers in the bank account. This is because we are committed to nourishing living systems and what makes living systems alive at all levels: organisms, ecosystems, economies, communities, organizations, etc., is the integrity of their flows. Disrupt any vital flow and the system soon dies. As a society, we have a pretty good understanding of objects and how to manipulate them, but we're not as good with flows. The Metacurrency project has identified the patterns, principles, and protocols for how we use currencies. Think current Cs, to share, measure, and enable all kinds of currents. And the last one is together in the Infinite World game. Yes. And we'll just, since we were getting more clear on that, I'll let them presence their field. Yes, I think that would be best. So there's the introduction to the New Earth economics. Once again, you can go to the Git book and you can find each one of these sectors laid out to give you a more in-depth landscape for those of you who would not have to go to the websites necessarily and can see it all in one place. So thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Amber. As we move forward, those were a lot of describing from the Kumu, just because a lot of the players aren't here to talk about what it is that they're doing. So really grateful for your patience in receiving that, because it's much more interesting to be interactive, but we really wanted to speak for those organizations. And for those who are here, who on this list is here for the economics? Other than, I know that together is Hollow or Holochain, or does Ray want to speak about Hollow or Holochain for 2 minutes, or?
That'd be great.
Okay, great. So we'll just give you the floor, Ray, about Hollow and Holochain. What is the most alive and practical application? I really want to get focused on what we can actually use right now.
Right. Well, the truth is Holochain is in alpha 0.0.1, so it is very early in the development stages, but things are moving fast with the fundraising and the ICO, and the tech team is really growing quickly and coming together. So we can talk about things as early as next quarter, next year, I think are perfectly relevant to this conversation. I'll stretch to say that. And what we can expect there, first of all, Holochain is an agent-centric, distributed and decentralized application development environment. That means that it follows a more biomimetic pattern of data handling that is more, that means it's more natural. It's more identifies the things that are happening in nature and the way nature evolves. And the fact is about nature is that there is no ultimate central understanding of reality, that each agent in the universe has its own complete version of the universe. If nothing else, then its own perspective upon what the universe looks like. And of course, it can be far deeper than that. So we take that approach at Holochain. We we notice that, and we develop digital systems that are in alignment with that truth. And that essentially shifts the burden of data integrity from a centralized database server to the application layer and each agent's version of the application. So each node in a decentralized system has the same capacity to validate and analyze its version of truth with every other node out there, just like humans do in the real world, and just like all sentient beings do. So built upon that, we will have the ability to build currencies. And there will be working currencies built on Holochain first quarter next year. The first one will be the Holo currency, which actually supports an ecosystem for front-facing web-based applications to be built on Holochain, so that your Holochain app is not a proprietary kind of operating environment that requires an installation, but that you can put your application out there and give people a URL to interface with your application. The Holo network is being built out now. It's having a very successful fundraiser on Indiegogo right now, and the ICO, we plan to raise 10 million, possibly as much as 25 is our cap, in January. So with those funds, we'll be building out the Holo network. We'll continue to build out the Holo network, which is all of the people of the world choosing to participate in running a Holochain node and a Holo node, which is simply a bundling of Holochain applications that are being served. So that will all roll out, and the currency system will roll out. And once we have a base of currencies, we can take on Arthur Brock's long history of currency ecosystem analysis and creation, which he has documented well, and we're continuing to form that into a cohesive way that anybody who sees a need for a particular ecosystem to have its own currency, for us to build that, answer some fundamental questions, design that ecosystem, and have it into a code base of a Holochain application that we can roll out. And all of this will happen in the coming months. And from that ecosystem of currency ecosystems, right? So there's actually a conversation called ecosystem of currency ecosystems. We will all be able to interact with each other in that kind of organic way that allows us to really see the currents in the flow. Currency, and that's the magic that is coming forth. So
thank you, Ray. Thank you for speaking so clearly about Holo. Amber, is there any other people who are present in the economics?
Absolutely. Yes.
David
David Rose, are you still with us? David. Okay. David, he's there. Yes. Okay. David, I would love for you to speak. Yeah, we can hear you. I would love for you to speak on behalf of Unified Field Corporation. And I would like to presence that we have we have two different banking models in this ecosystem, and the Unified Field Corporation is one of them. So David, please share with us how we can work with that bank model.
Well, so UFC spent we spent about 5 years getting the model ready to launch into an actual bank that is approved by the federal and state regulators. And we have a bank attorney firm, a national firm, ready to work with us. They've given us about 5 years of free time. And so the laws changed a few years ago that declared that we can't use investment money to apply for a bank license. We have to pay for it ourselves or receive donated money to do that. So we went back to our previous business ecosystem, which is around food, which is the same model as the bank, but instead of applying it to an entire community in all 9 areas of regeneration, we apply it to food. And so we've been developing that for the last 3 years, and now we're launching in the next 5 months our first our organic food dehydration center. We call it a gentle drying center. And so we expect that that'll be buying about 4.8 million pounds of food in the next 12 months from organic farmers and turning it into these gorgeous flakes and crystals that we already have market for, and the cash from that, the revenue from that, will be paying for our bank applications. So we expect by summer we'll be engaged in the an application for a de novo federal charter for a unified field bank. And in the 5 years that I took this around the world, everybody loved it. And I mean everybody, from regular people to spiritual conscious engineers like those on this call, to regulators for states and the US and other countries, bank attorneys, bankers, and business people. And the interesting thing that this one to space model had as an effect on people is it would pop them immediately out of their head and into their heart. It was really fun to watch. Even people that were not used to that experience, sometimes they'd start crying. I had bankers start crying in front of me when we talk about this model. And I had also bankers flip the other way into just indescribable joy and almost like a giddiness because they didn't know what to do with the energy. So it's going to be fun to do that. And meanwhile, the way we're getting there is to regenerate our food systems. So every time we land a dryer in communities around the world, we will be buying at least 3 to 4 million pounds of food a year from local organic farmers and sequestering about 300 to 500 tons of CO2 per year in that community from the extra food grown, and using wasted food to feed hungry people. So the food that's wasted currently on our farms is a lot of food, and we can puree that and dry it and give a lot of it away. So that's what we're up to. Hopefully that was less than 2 minutes.
Wahoo! Thank you, David, so much for grounding all of these amazing design in such a practical way in the earth space. And I always saw alternative currencies as backed by food and our practical resources. So to hear about this creating wealth in such an amazing aligned way is really, really uplifting. So I'm really grateful for your share. And then I would love to also hear from the Together specifically about the new economics that you all are working with.
Yes, and that's perfect for the Limitless group to tie in after that. I'd like to mention that Gavin has expressed the notion of an infinite world game as well. It's in the field for him. And so once again, Limitless Group being able to bring these applications to the real world through another one of the platforms that they've created. And I feel like I would also like to mention that this whole operating system that we're doing, it is a possibility that if everything continues to align the way that it is. I felt very resonant with what Gavin shared, that he has purchased the URL for genius.os. So New Earth Global is not the new operating system. It's preparing as many puzzle pieces as we can to tie in and create this new operating system. And so I just wanted to share with that piece really excites me. And Together, please take the floor.
Thank you, Amber. I'm just going to have Andrea pull up a slide to help me orient myself. I would say, as far as grounded applications, it's good for me to presence that the S7 group and what we've been bringing here is really, we've been living in the gift economy for 5 years. Like, all of our New Map Going Back project has been gifted, and we always talk about integral wealth and all the variety of gifts that we've been given, from getting a marriage ceremony to living in different countries to healing and all that. So the most prescient thing to really share is a grounded application is we live right now in a gift economy and receive most of our resources and gifts in that way. So that is number one for me to mention. Also, here in the Kumu map, you see I put Infinite World Game with the element of an economic lens. So, of course, everything we do is from a whole system perspective, and how we can weave all these elements from economics to technology and social architecture and whatnot. Andrew, do you want to add anything more about that? Okay, yeah, just to be clear about that. It's just, we're not like an organization that does economics. We look at economics as part of our whole systems platform. So under economy here, we have what we're calling a holographic or resource-based gift economy, which is what we want to move to, which is ultimately beyond all money and potentially transactional nature. I want to give a super shout out to Art and MetaCurrency and Fernanda, and Juan here has been friends with Fernanda for many years with Village Lab and all that. The idea of currencies and integral wealth is very, very prime to what we've all been inspired by. And eventually when we look back and saw these holons and NewMap, everything that was mapped was an object of perception and therefore valuable. It was a piece of somebody and it was a currency, whether an intention, a resource, a vision, a passion, it doesn't matter. It was a currency. And therefore mapping these things in holons and holographic, it's a holographic economy. And you don't really even exchange things, you share these things. And then synergy happens, and because of the abundance, there's not even a need to exchange, but you do track things to make things visible through the systems everyone here is talking about with holochain and whatnot. Another grounded application we're working here for the Infinite World game is something we call the Mother Fund and the Essentials process. These are ways of looking at what people really need to be in their highest gifts as part of teams, as an individual on the planet. And the Mother Fund is sort of our centralized, decentralized funnel that has principles where the funding and resources go where they're needed. Everyone is taken care of, and there's biomimetic and natural principles of how the Mother Fund works. And we're also looking at a potential ICO at some point called the Together Coin. I've coined the word cryptocurrency because that's where I want to take holochain and all these currencies. I guess that's about it. And what I call spiritual philanthropy, where my journey started. And spiritual philanthropy is not woo-woo. It just simply means investing all integral wealth into the field of consciousness itself, because everyone will deliver the blueprints that they're meant to deliver if they're nourished and taken care of and invested in. So, and you want to, one more thought here now.
I just want to, there's just one aspect that Brett hasn't mentioned that we've been prototyping here, which is a points-based system for tracking and also encouraging, motivating co-creators to realize their greatest potential. So if you think of computer games and you have like your health and you have your money and you have and they track these different aspects of your progress, we see an integral currency much like that. And that also it's encouraging co-creators to expand into their greatest potential. So we have this gamified current system. I don't know if Mona wanted to just, but it's important to mention that we've been playing with that here. We're actually been, yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, that might be linked to we're playing with the idea of linking that to the Together ICO. So it's a currency kind of mined by co-creation with yin and yang, harmonizing masculine and feminine embodiment, and harmonizing all of the infinite proceeds in the system into a more unified kind of direction of life force energy in the social body.
Yeah, and we're sharing resources. We were funded by someone to come together. So as far as grounded applications, we're sharing resources ourselves, who needs what, when, making agreements between each other as 3 different groups coming together, prototyping, sharing of resources. So that's another way of grounding the application of these things like the Essentials and Mother Fund. That's enough. There's obviously it could go on forever, but I want to leave it there.
Thank you so much, Together team, for weaving the web and really providing those bridges for these new economic systems to be practically applied and connected with one another, because I think that that's huge. And to just, revisit and honor the gift economy that you've been thriving in, and how that has been setting such an amazing resonance for these new systems design and new economies. I look forward to another conversation with just the economics people to learn more about that in the future, and that's where we're going with this. So I'm going to hand it over to Amber.
Yes, I would also like to present that in the NEGA economic ecosystem, you can find out more information about the holographic economy written by the Together group. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, let's research and get to know one another and, really find out about each other's stories. So we have also the Limitless group that we can talk about these new economies. And then I think that that's it for the people who are present. Is that right, Amber? Okay,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Hand it over to you, Gavin.
Thank you. So just really briefly, Limitless Group is basically what I was inspired by all these people that I was meeting on my kind of research, my travels after leaving JP Morgan. And so coming back to economics, one of the many inspirations regarding metacurrencies and currencies and deep wealth was some people I've been speaking with about new kinds of special economic zones. And what with the distributed, decentralized, technology and, self-organizing sort of collaborative platforms, etc. It does create some wonderful opportunities to run, obviously lots of prototypes, which some are already obviously up and running for a while in terms of community currencies, etc. But they could be viewed as new kinds of what I think of as free zones, so future-ready economic ecosystems. And one of the things for me about the notion of the infinite game is, be able to obviously bring that into, part of the gameplay, as well as tapping into psychological stuff like collective unconscious. I mean, all sorts. I mean, obviously it's multi-layered, but I just wanted to mention that, with regard to the special economic zone stuff and what we now have the self-organizing capabilities to be able to prototype more of. So I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much, Gavin, for your clarity and conciseness. I really appreciate it. It's a very special tool we're going to have in the future, collectively. So with that, I feel really excited about these new economic systems that are growing to support us and that are changing and evolving with one another. And I really look forward to the convergence of all of these placemakers, if you will, in the economy. I see you, Jim. And so I'm going to open it up just for a very brief reflection of the three asks. Is there anything that's missing? Is there anything that is feeling aligned or unaligned? And anything else that to be made aware of? And so we can start to cue. So we have Jim first, and then we can talk to Gavin second, and Brett.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that alongside the social ledger, we're implementing a general token system within the social ledger, which is not on any chain at present. I guess I'll go into the technology later. But the open money is a circular money system. It's sort of compatible. We're hoping to have that interface available very soon.
Thank you. Gavin? You're still muted, Gavin.
I'm just going to put a link in the chat, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Global Education Futures Initiative, because education and obviously the transformation of education systems is a key component of obviously the transition and transformation that we are all seeking. So I just wanted to kind of briefly give a shout out to that as one of many initiatives, but that's one that I'm quite close to.
Thank you so much. So Brett, you
Yeah, I just wanted to take 20 seconds for those of you who don't know us to share that last year we were gifted a space in Rotterdam where a bunch of us lived for nearly 9 months in the gift economy. It was a 30,000 square foot building that we had 3 different floors on and on. Lindsay was there and some other people visited. So again, just to reaffirm this gift economy and the consciousness of unity and sharing and non-local reciprocation is not, again, a theory for us or anything like that. And it was an amazing experience. And we're just looking to build on that with these pop-up hubs, what Holochain's doing right now. I know Gavin's connected to some people where we can have these pop-up co-creative hubs where people can come and go around the planet and live the consciousness as well as is important to live the consciousness as well as create things. So just wanted to share that with people who don't know us, that it was an amazing experience and it was completely gifted by our friend Anthony and his foundation. So it was amazing. Thanks.
Oh, ha, indeed. Such an amazing experience and a true embodiment in the systems and planting a seed for all of what's to come. I'm going to give it briefly to also Brittany at Fruit the World, talking about her seed-backed economy, just briefly, and then we'll weave with her a little bit later.
Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, I just wanted to drop Seeds of Light, which is a gifting cryptocurrency backed by seeds. I see it as a bridge to bridge like our global community beyond borders with depositing our wealth into the earth. And yeah, I could go off on some tangents, like fruity tangents, but yeah, I just wanted to drop that line, and I'm excited for Holochain for further development because I feel like it's going to be perfect to host it on. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Yeah, these real grounded, resource-based backings is the future of everything that we're doing. And seeds were the original currency when we started becoming these larger communities. And so to bring it back to that, into our food wealth, into our ground, into seed saving and keeping of our culture through our food is so important. So I just wanted to presence the beauty and the excitement of Seeds of Light and how we can use that as a new currency going forward with the cryptos. So thank you, everyone. Is that it for the economics?
Yes, I just had one to mention, a point that came up after Gavin spoke. As we're all aware of, there's only 4 ecosystems that we're speaking of today. That was guided. Spirit showed me that, you know, if we were to look at any of the wheels of co-creation from Lindsay's to Barbara Marx Hubbard, that it was very clear if we don't get the economics ecosystem, the technology ecosystem, and the social architecture ecosystem really tuned in and communicating with each other and aligned, that actually none of the other sectors would be able to spin their wheels. So this is why I have intuitively selected these ecosystems, and then I brought in the New Earth consultants, which we'll go into in just a moment, because it's like the ground. Like Jim was saying, where the top down and the ground up, or so to say the back end and the front end. So really making sure that, you know, the consultants are the New Earth consultants are aware of what's going on at the core foundational level, because the consultants, the New Earth consultants, are really aware of the whole systems design, and some of them also the meta architecture. And so this is why the consultants were the 4th ecosystem brought in. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So with all of that information, I just invite us to take a few moments and reflect on all the information that we received, and just take a few breaths and integrate this new information of all of the economic systems that are orbiting us at this moment. Beautiful. Thank you for taking just that time and silence. And we'll move on to the technology and the people who are bringing the new Earth digital platforms.
Yeah, I think I'd actually like to go into the consultants next and leave the technology for last, because really the technology is kind of the next really important move for this field to start the engine. So if we could maybe end on that.
That sounds fine to me. Let's go into the consultants then.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. New Earth consultants. The organizations that are not here, I'll read a little bit more like I did in the other field. And I'll mention that that will be Local Earth and Village Lab. So I'll roll through them. And let me jump over to the PDF to give us a little introduction. Okay, New Earth consultants. Planetary engineers and whole systems designers embodied in the New Earth social architecture who are proficient and well-versed in New Earth systems design toolkits and blueprints. This HOLON offers facilitators and orchestration for people, places, and organizations to plug into the universal framework of planetary co-creation and redesign. Utilizing technological platforms, universal frameworks, holonic architectures, holistic models, and peer-to-peer networks. The New Earth consultants will provide universal systems design consulting for all nations, all communities, all villages, all businesses, and all individuals, with specialists across all facets that make up a society, with full access to an emerging operating system that weaves the following. And what is presented there is the whole systems design that I went through early on in the meeting, so we won't go that route again. Jump over to the mind map here. Okay, Local Earth, the nature of community. We invite you to join us on a journey around the world in search of innovative people, projects, and organizations that are developing and implementing regenerative solutions to the world's current social and environmental challenges. This is a collaborative open source research project and tour designed to discover and feature the brightest and most innovative ideas on the planet. We are reevaluating all social systems with the intention of upgrading or redesigning all systems necessary to support the optimal health and evolution of the planet as a whole. Local Earth is Davin Infinity and Josh Alvord. And I don't really know Josh personally, but I know that if he's working with Davin, he's definitely a very close cohort. And Davin is not only holding these codes, but our beloved brother is also holding similar codes that I'm bringing in for futuristic cities. And so he basically has village, community, and city design across all scales. So honoring that work with our brothers. Also sending a heart space out to them. Thank you for the wisdom they're bringing to us right now. New Earth Collective. This is another branch of the New Earth Global Alliance. This is all the different consulting groups. The vision of New Earth Planetary Collective, a civilization that weaves together sovereignty, balance, co-creation, and abundance using tools, models, systems, and applications for practical human, material, and ecological resiliency. In support of holistic environments where nature, people, conscious evolution, advanced systems, and technological development can simultaneously evolve symbiotically. The mission: to identify, document, and design planetary blueprints discovered to be in the highest resonance with nature in the harmonic fields of the universe. These co-designed, co-evolving blueprints embody these laws of creation and are bridges from the old paradigm to the new. We empower individuals, collectives, villages, communities, cities, and nations to build on the foundations of these principles. We offer the world an opportunity to self-organize autonomously into evolutionary systems that intrinsically support planetary evolution and all of creation. So basically, all these consultants that you see here, we first see on the New Earth Planetary Collective, all of the consulting groups will be represented on there. Okay, Village Lab. Community design. Village Lab's mission is to serve communities of place, purpose, and practice. Our passion is to create together a sustainable and regenerative world. And working together, our prime goal is for our clients, partners, and ourselves feeling absolutely great about what each has given and received in the relationship. Bringing inspired vision to reality. This is the basis of all great work. We love our visionaries and cultural creatives. Without them, the world would be a dull place. In fact, we probably wouldn't even survive. To accomplish these goals, we are devoted to clear communication, transparency, and very clear social and contractual agreements for our work together. We have embraced a spectrum of business relationships ranging from retainers and contracts to an upfront generosity model to working in the gift designed to match our capacities with our clients' needs, values, and vice versa. Regenerative whole systems design. Village Labs consulting team provides professional incubation and consulting services in project design and development for communities of intent through a whole systems design framework that integrates the social, ecological, and economic dimensions, what we call regenerative whole systems design. And of course, you can learn more about their framework and research and development in your own time. That's Fernanda Ibarra, Kiala Young, and Jeff Clearwater.
In Jamaica.
Oh, and yes, Jamaica Stevens. Yes, thank you. Okay. Walt Studios, another Gavin platform. He's just all over the place, holding it down for us in each of the ecosystems. Thank you, brother. Solutions for people-centered cities. We co-design and execute for inclusive cities and economies. Our philosophy, an economy and a city that work for everyone and for the environment depend on rediscovering the assets and capacities residing in every community and city, restoring this normative creativity. Inclusive cities and economies. Walt Studios is the platform process that helps cities and sectors to use all the local resources and competences to develop a shared vision together with diverse stakeholders, including companies, organizations, artists, creatives, city administration, investors, students, and ordinary citizens. Gaia Sky, Connected Creation. We are an inspired collective passionate about creation and connection and inspired to fully activate and interweave this network of organizations here on Earth, aligned with what is in the highest for our Earth and all of humanity. We are the matchmakers for living organizations in our Gaia Sky network, highlighting symbiotic relationships and opening channels for optimal resource flow to facilitate a healthy and thriving creative ecosystem. Sphere Foundation. Sphere, unity's perfect symbol. Each point on the surface is identical to every other, equivalent from the unique point in its center. We are all equivalent to the point of our shared future. Sphere Foundation intends to support and bring awareness to all individuals, groups, and organizations who have solutions to the crisis on Earth. Currently, Sphere Foundation is creating connections to other solutions, people, organizations, and movements. As we connect authentically with our relations, we hold the container for a more inclusive perspective on the movement as a whole. Sphere creates individual and community empowerment by providing a resource for all people to connect, learn, and create global solutions. We are a ever-forming community of regenerators. By self-organizing around the 13-pointed synergy matrix, multiple disciplinary teams of problem-solving emerge. consciously concepted. This is my company that I developed before I even came into the picture of all these fields. This is evolutionary design through mastering the art of resonance. Who we are, planetary pioneers, engineers, and architects from the future, cosmically aligning to co-create the new Earth. A world inspired by nature, innovation, art, design, and co-creation. A future designed and built with the integrity and precision of nature's intelligent patterns of perfection. Fueled by spirit, love, science, technology, and an awakened cosmic consciousness. World Summit, bypassing borders and existing systems by unifying ourselves. Unifying the unifiers. The World Summit is about uniting and gathering people, groups, and organizations beyond our different goals and the political and economic systems that divide us. Because ultimately, we all want the same thing, a more beautiful world that our hearts tell us is possible. We envision a new humanity that transcends political and socio-economic divisions to rediscover our true unity as one global species. One that has learned how to work together to solve our global challenges, ushering in a new world beyond war, inequality, and environmental destruction. A truly civilized society that works for everyone, now and for future generations of all life on Earth. The mission of World Summit is to unite humanity by inviting individuals, groups, and organizations to come together beyond our failed governments to create a neutral platform on the micro and macro levels in the form of mini summits, which will culminate into a global World Summit, and cross-pollinating global citizens with different groups and organizations during the summits. We will scale up our collective knowledge, wisdom, and solutions and begin taking actions towards solving our global challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, for sharing those brief introductions. We'll go through and we'll do a little intro for everybody who's here and present. I'll start with myself in the Sphere Foundation. This sphere has evolved rapidly since its conception, where I first had the vision that we needed these global networks and thought that I was the one that had to do it all, and then realized that everybody had their piece and evolved through that. And where the sphere is now is really in the most practical application. It's basically my mantra. And so sphere is here to brainstorm and evolve facilitation methodology, and it's what brings me here as a facilitator now, to figure out how we can really focus and honor everyone's energy in these meetings as we move forward and start to convene in the World Summits, in healing practices, in deep spiritual circles and ceremony that are all combined. How do we weave those in a really practical way? So I'm here in service of that, and then also working with other people who have wisdom about facilitation to evolve those and create different languages to share them. The other part of the sphere is also the actual building, not just consulting, but the building of the new structures. I have a super comprehensive team of regenerative builders, architects, homeodynamic designers, biodynamics, permaculturists that are waiting to hands-on build some of these new communities, not just consult about what it should be done, but the actual support groups for the building themselves that are also going to be educators for these new technologies, so communities will be able to walk away or walk deeper into their community with this knowledge and these skills. So we have like a really amazing group of people who are very skilled architects, contractors, general contractors, farmers, permaculturists that are ready to put their hands, boots on the ground style. So that's the sphere is the foundation of all of it, and taking all of these amazing things and creating these systems in this dimension so we can unfold from there. So thank you. I will move forward with, let's go to Gaia Sky and our friend Brittany. We haven't heard from you other than the Seeds of Light. So you're here. Would love to hear about Gaia Sky.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, well, like Amber mentioned, there's it's a consultant service for supporting organizations to be more like living systems, and then we're weaving worlds together. So between organizations, so that we can facilitate resource flow. And then we also have incubator space support for new projects that are in alignment with regeneration. And then also it's all going to be coming together with just the whole regenerative cryptocurrencies that are, I feel like, going to be weaving a lot of this ecoscape that we have, that we're all building out right now. And two things that we're building out right now is the prosperity portal. So this will give opportunities for everybody to plug and play for any regenerative solution that we have to plug into the portal and give not only ambassadors opportunities to shift away from 9-to-5 jobs to start to represent projects, products, services that they aren't in alignment with, so they can create their own prosperity portfolio, but also to be able to give similar opportunities to big organizations or aligned organizations for sponsorship and co-creation, so that we can create circuits and weave the lands that we have with a lot of the gathering spaces. So that's also creating that currency. Yeah, and then also just on the last part of this is what's been coming through, as Soul was kind of a baby of another organization called Fruit the World, which is bridging regenerative solutions for the earth, body, and communities. So Seeds of Light, the gifting cryptocurrency backed by seeds, was a way to connect community beyond borders. But as it's been coming through lately, just really seeing clearly how it's going to be a really great tool to activate local ecoscapes. And one major thing I'm just going to put out there is I'm on the east coast of Turtle Island, and there's this palace out here, and it's called Swananoa, which is a Cherokee name. It's this beautiful palace, epic views of the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I just tapped into spiritual community here, One Heart Community Society. Walter Russell, name drop. He's one of the most expansive understandings of how light works, interestingly enough. And so I'll just say that just to open the invitation, because we are activating and dropping down a lot of blueprints and downloads right now, to invite the opportunity to create proposals for these types of opportunities that are presenting themselves. And thank you for the space.
Thank you so much. Really excited about those opportunities, and the creating the network of our resources on the ground is going to be a really amazing service that these new technologies are going to provide, is not only connecting our groups and our personal services as humans and consultants and tech people, but also what is the resource of this community? What are these people, amazing hemp producers? Are these people, creating these different kinds of cultural and art centers? Or, are these people scientifically innovating stuff and they have, the free energy machines that we need? what are the resources on the ground? Where's the food? Where's the water sources? All of these kinds of things. That's what Gaia Sky is going to be connecting through the technology that you all are bringing to the table. And so I think it's a really amazing service, and I'm so glad that you're here, Brittany. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next person in the
yeah, I think that local Earth and Village Lab I went through. They're not here. I already expressed the New Earth Collective. We did Gaia Sky and Sphere Foundation. So I'll do my company, and then we can jump over to World Summit Global and Walt Studios as once again platforms for us to bring these real world applications into the field. So we can, and you know, Gavin, you've been really great with keeping it short and concise. And Tony and Troy, are you guys with us?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'll let Troy do the talking, because I've had a 6-hour operation 2 days ago, so I'm a bit iffy at the moment. So I'll let Troy do the talking in a bit.
Okay, great. So I'll just run through really quickly of Consciously Concepted, and then we'll jump over to the Walt Studios and then end it with World Summit Global, and we'll move straight over to the tech ecosystem. Okay. Consciously Concepted. Well, I have spent the last 4 years in deep advanced research across innovations of technologies from advanced to sustainable to space applications, advanced material sciences, innovations and technologies for the future of architecture. And now I have the tools and resources to build what I call hyper-futuristic ecotopias. Very, very, very advanced built environments. And so this is a consulting group with also real world applications. So evolutionary design, consulting for breakthrough research, higher dimensional planning, quantum innovation development, advanced technology integrations, sacred science education portals, high-tech design applications, and biodynamic biodigital architecture. So as much as we do the consulting, you could hire me tomorrow to build you a city of the future. So working with all the most advanced technologies, and I have a long list of some of the most advanced architects that are built. Literally, we could build floating cities already. So it's pretty mind expansive, and you know, who knows when the world will actually be ready for this. As far as what I'm understanding is that we will be taking a quantum leap over the next 2-3 years, and we'll be able to really start integrating this level of innovation into our reality. So I'm very excited to be bringing that here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So World Summit.
Yes, hello. My name is Troy Wiley, and I'm with one of the co-founders of the World Summit, along with Tony Craigle, who is the founder. And let's see, let me just share my screen here. Let's see, one second. Okay, this is our website. And basically, as you'll notice, our tagline says we're all about bypassing borders and existing systems by unifying ourselves. So we're really trying to transcend our existing governmental systems and economic systems that we feel is dividing us. And so we feel that one of the real challenges or opportunities, depending on how you look at it, is that we need to unify as one species, as one humanity. So anyway, and Amber, I'm not sure we're placed correctly on your your mind map there, because we're not really a consultancy group. If anything, I might suggest that there be maybe a new cluster for events, because that's really what we're about. We're about bringing together humanity through a series of mini summits. One which we're having groups from all over the world come together for a mini summit in mid-January, and then we're having so we have groups from indigenous communities. We have Standing Rock group, and indigenous elders, as well as some very high-tech organizations like Envienta, open source, everything. Can everybody hear me okay? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so we are a decentralized, non-hierarchical group that's all about whole systems redesign. And so we one thing that we've noticed is that I'm hearing some very loud typing. I don't know, is that something on my end or?
Amber, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've recognized that there's all these great, well-intentioned and intelligent people and groups that are doing amazing work, but there's so many groups out there creating their own wheels of co-creation. And so in a sense, we're all sort of recreating the wheel over and over again. And so we've come up with kind of a little metaphor where we feel like we need to unify first. And in doing that, that's half the battle. So if we can sort of get all these different wheels together, working together, and put them under the bus, then we can all go in the same direction. So that's, in simple terms, that's what the World Summit is about. So, I'm very familiar with, everything that's being talked about here. I was in the integral philosophy community a few years back in Boulder, Colorado. And so I'm very well versed in integral philosophy, spiral dynamics, meta architecture, holarchy and holons, etc. And then fast forward to today where we're talking about cryptocurrencies and meta architecture and all that. As fantastic as that is, I'm going to express an authentic concern that I had a few years back, and I think it's still applicable today. And this is not, denigrating well-intentioned and important work anyone is doing, but personally, I feel that we've kind of reached this stage of what I call peak complexity. You've heard of peak oil and peak resources and all this, but I propose that maybe we're at a place of peak complexity. And I think there's a yearning on the part of many, many people around the world for that simplicity on the other side of complexity. And so I envision this as actually just a higher holonic level that's just much, much simpler beyond so much of the technology and maybe even the cryptocurrencies. It's perhaps not even necessary as a transition to get us to that next higher holonic level. So, and I would suggest also that a lot of what we're talking about here is not going to be understandable by many, many people. So, unintentionally, it may actually be inherently hierarchical by its very nature. So what the World Summit is about is simply bypassing our existing governments and economic systems altogether. And we're not asking for permissions from any governments. We don't register as an NGO or as a nonprofit with any governments, and we don't have any bank accounts. We're actually introducing a gift-based income model. So I'm sure you've all heard of UBIs, Universal Basic Income. And that's coming, but it's coming from our government or even industry are talking about providing UBIs. We are actually implementing, as of today, we have a GBC and a GBI model. So gift-based contributions and gift-based incomes, where delegates working with the World Summit are actually receiving GBIs to free up some time so that they can dedicate themselves to work on creating the World Summit. So that's something that, yeah, we're all about transcending, our failed governments and economic systems and bringing about the gift-based or resource-based economies that we feel it's, I'm reminded of the phrase that what once seemed, when the biopsychosocial pressures get great enough, what once seemed radical becomes practical. We always say that we don't have all the answers. In fact, we propose none, but we are asking the right questions. So we have our own wheel of co-creation. We call it our sociocratic pizza slice organization. And so we use principles such as nonviolent communication and methods of self-governance such as sociocracy. But our pizza, our wheel here, is not about creating these alternative economic and political structures. This wheel is only about creating the World Summit, and in doing that and unifying people and groups from around the world beyond our differences, and using these different principles of integrity, we feel that we are actually being the change we want to see. And who knows, by the time we get to the World Summit event itself, we may not even need it because we'll have already created this new paradigm. So, and then we have a whole slice there for transition. And then that's where we get into many of these other things. How do we actually, change hands, from the powers that be now to what we've created. So anyway, we welcome involvement from any and all other groups. We'll keep you updated on how the mini summit goes in Mexico in January, and we're very excited. So thank you everyone for all the great stuff here.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on that a little bit, so we can kind of integrate a little bit more understanding at who we have here in the field, Troy. And I'd like to let you know that in order for us to actually do what you're speaking of, the old system will not be able to, if we don't do these technological advancements that we're talking about, then there is no new operating system, and we're still operating on the old system. Because at the end of the day, the way you go to a URL, the way you go to Facebook and you email, that's all old system, and it's very, very archaic. So our technological team is creating advanced applications to actually be able to self-organize and to use the technology to orient ourselves instead of spending so much on the time on the technology. And as far as the different sectors, we're not telling any one person we're actually just creating the framework for all the people that would come into your World Summit to be able to plug into and be able to have all these sushi menus of all these options of what feels good to them to create their infinite world game of their unique expression. And I would also like to mention one more thing, that trying to figure out this and that of the couple things that you mentioned of like how can we do this and how we can do that. I'd like to presence that the pioneers that are sitting in this meeting and all the fields that we're connected with are the researchers and are the scientists that have done the years and years and years of, whether it's analytical or philosophical research, to actually get to the conclusions of where we're at and the information that we're actually bringing into this field. So we have, there's so much backing our decisions and our efforts here. And we actually are creating the systems that can transcend, and through the research we are very clear that there is a transition, and it's I wish that we could just jump through the transition as well, as it's very uncomfortable for me in ways, because highly advanced. I feel like I'm already in 2050 operating in a very archaic time. So it's very, very challenging for me. But the reality is, through research of conscious evolution and also evolution of systems, we are at an emergence where it is absolutely inevitable that there is a transition, and our teams are creating the different transition gateways for the most ease and grace for all walks of consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. We're going to take a moment and just ground in all of the consultants, and then it's kind of in the other space. I feel similar to Troy about there is another field that is coming in of the support and like how it is actually happening on the ground. And I think that the World Summit is the bridge to that for us all to get together in person and stuff. And so we'll have Wealth Studios talk about if you can be as brief as possible. We really want to honor our time. And so this organization, Wealth Studios, give us a little download of what is most alive.
So thank you. Just really briefly then, what's most alive is that a prototype of a prototype. So as Ray was saying earlier, I think he was on version 0.01. So in Riga, the reactor here in Riga, where Ray and his colleagues did a holochain hackathon. It's a prototype of a form of wealth studio, and the reason these two terms came together was studios. When people think of studios, typically it's thinking about creative production, and of course the etymology goes back to study, learn as well. So obviously it's a learning and sort of creative production environment, and then the wealth taps in very much with the meta currency, meta capital stuff, this sort of deep wealth. And so it's really about, bringing people together in their local places. And so that the deep wealth making happens alongside the, new forms of placemaking. And then when you bring in the technology that helps further enable, the kind of self-organization and basically just helping to up everyone's game, really, in terms of greater self-determination. I mean, as I say, just quickly going back to this notion of special economic zones and charter cities and special administrative regions, all this kind of stuff. There's lots of kind of sort of examples out there that we can, kind of bring into the field. But I'll just finish by saying that Wealth Studios is just an expression of the kind of physical places as well as the digital places where people can come together for a creative, co-creative deep wealth production.
Excellent, thank you, Gavin. All of our little holons are totally in service of each other, and we're going to be talking at the end about how these different ecosystems can start coming together and sharing their information in collaboration as well as co-creation to start forming the new platforms out of our combined intelligence. And so with that, I'll just take a few breaths and contemplate and integrate all of the consultancies and the service that they're providing. Excellent. And the next thing is the unifier of us all is the new technology platforms. So Amber, we're going to go into those technology platforms. Just for the sake of time, if you could be more concise with the shares of the reading on the mind map, that would be really amazing, because we're going to dive really deep into the text, so we don't really need to reinstate the information that's already on the websites.
Definitely.
Thank you.
The introduction, the NEGA introduction to the technology ecosystem. Computer scientists, engineers, developers, and systems architects, a collective hive mind that works with knowledge of how evolutionary systems like our ecological and biological systems evolve, and then develops that into intelligently designed technological applications and digital ecosystems with high precision computing capabilities. This field is capable of undertaking a total redesign of our web and how we interact with it. This will include cryptography, information exchange and protection, data storage, new internet servers, compilers and operating systems, communications, coding, distributed systems, peer-to-peer networks, AI gamification, and holonic interface design and user experience. Here we have Scepter. Semantic, interoperable, cryptographic, concurrent, responsive networks awakened as living ecosystems. The core of Scepter. The purpose, to be the fabric which binds all the sub-projects into an integrated framework via virtual machine host, fractal receptors, parallel tree processing, a Scepter network, and a compository for managing shared code and data reuse. Building a global nervous system. New Earth Digital Co-Governance Web. We already spoke about that. Maybe Ray can just tune in for a second when we go around to talk about the technological applications. Gravity Network that Natan just left. Shiloh was here this morning. She was only available to come in for the first 30 minutes. She's highly aware of everything that's going on. So just sending our heart space out to Natan and Shiloh for the wisdom that they're bringing to this container. Shiloh's company is Gravity Network. They do many different things. They empower mission-driven companies with digital technology. They also have an accelerator which helps fund and support the development of technologies. And they are an innovative for-benefit digital media agency that supports impact-driven companies, B Corps, and socialpreneurs. So move on from there. Superluminal Systems. This is Harlan, who will be able to come on. He actually should be on right now. He wasn't able to. Honoring our brother's information that he's bringing into the container and sending him a heart thread. Superluminal Systems is also in correlation with enlightened structure. That's one of the bits of information I wasn't able to get on here, so that will be added after the meeting. Superluminal Systems is integrative learning communities and technologies for the sovereign web. And once we go through everyone speaking, I'm going to take the time during that time to pull up the enlightened structure. So before we end the technology ecosystem, I can represent it. Together in the Infinite World game, once again, I'm going to leave that to the team because we weren't able to get super clear on the differences of what's going on in that field. So we'll just let them present that. Social Ledger with Jem and some of his team members who are on here. We'll have him talk about that. Meta Maps with Robert Best, who's also part of the Holochain team and the Social Ledger / Digital Life Collective team. This is the other mapping system. As you see here, we're using Kumu. It was just really great to utilize for presentation, but as far as actually mapping all of our organizations and our ecosystems, we are going to use MetaMaps for now, which will be in API integration into the New Earth Global site. And we can talk more about that towards the end of the meeting. But MetaMaps makes sense with MetaMaps. MetaMaps is a free and open source platform that supports real-time sense-making, distributed collaboration, and the creative intelligence of individuals, organizations, and communities. Deep Code, I was unable to get the information from Forrest, and he unfortunately is traveling to London today, is not able to be with us. So honoring our brother's wisdom that he's bringing to this container, sending him a heart space, heart thread. Deep Code is bringing a lot of the deep technical code, and I'll just share with you what is a deep technical code. And the best example I can give you is that he's been studying a part of many other studies, metaphysical analytics, and he believes he has cracked the code to actually transcend the archaic Babylonian numerical value system altogether. And Harlan of Enlightened Structure is also holding codes for that cracking. So that will be product of conversation in the technology meeting, and we'll also keep everyone updated because it's pretty mind-blowing. So moving on to the Digital Life Collective. The Digital Life Collective researches, develops, and funds and supports tech we trust. Technologies that prioritize our autonomy, privacy, and dignity. Our tech, not their tech. We believe that digital technologies we use should serve without stalking us, protect without limiting us, and empower without betraying us. We believe they should be accessible to all without exception. Okay, I think I wrapped it up.
Thank you, Amber. And so we are coming in just because the nature of our community, we have to be a little bit flexible and breathable. We started around 9:30. It looks like we'll probably end closer to 12:40 or 12:45, just to get everybody in. If the people who are sharing about the tech could really try to stick to the 2 minutes of just brief sharing of what's like mostly alive, and anything else that's really pertinent. We can start with is Scepter here?
Raymond will be able to speak on behalf of Scepter.
Okay.
Hi again. Yeah, so Scepter is the brainchild of Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun, who have been working on re-envisioning how technology can bring forth a new way of human interaction on the planet long before cryptocurrency was a thing. And I'll give this opportunity to respond just a bit to what was mentioned about, actually maybe technology, all these technological developments aren't the thing, and maybe there's just an actual simpler approach. And I think actually from within a technological approach, Scepter and the whole ideology around that is actually bringing in a level of simplicity, because we're getting back to, again, biomimicry. We're getting back to following natural flows. So what that enables to happen is that it actually does really simplify the process. We spend a lot of time and energy in technology to create versions of reality that are solid and that match this universal standard. That takes a ton of time and energy, and blockchain technology is like the epitome of that. It's like this hyper-focused version of that literally Bitcoin alone is taking 1/1000th of the entire energy usage of the planet right now just to run 10 transactions per second. So inherent in Scepter is literally a new operating system that can run on devices that enables, Scepter is short for receptor. So it actually enables all data to have a context, to have a meaning associated with it, rather than just random bits and bytes that only have meaning to humans when they know it in context. The context is actually stored with the data in a Scepter world. Holochain is the data storage layer and networking layer for Scepter, which is a whole new pluggable operating system for the future.
Thank you, Ray. Super clear. That's great. Let's go to NewMap, one of our favorite tech hubs, at least for me. Hey guys.
Okay, I'm going to attempt this. I'm not our official tech guru, but maybe that's better for 2 minutes. So what's alive for us right now in grounded applications? First of all, we have the NewMap Alpha platform, which was our original technological innovation. So first of all, that we want to share that through a sort of hollow sourcing, synergistic agreement type thing with this field. So we have to get to that. Like that is available, like to be integrated on some level and be used by our field, but it's a bigger thing. But that is actually something we have as an asset resource to share, a grounded application, although it's an alpha. On top of that,
let me just explain what NewMap is for people.
NewMap is a Holonic collaborative mapping platform right now. Obviously, we were envisioning this whole systems platform. It's in its generic base now. It's a very flexible Holonic mapping platform, which is really good for the mashable ontologies of the different governance systems. You can have organizations, you can have this, you can have sociocracy. It's really easy to mix and match and match languages and match ontologies and things like that. And using a holonic interface does change your consciousness, which is another big thing as far as grounded. Like it does work, it does change your experience, and it's more holistic and it's beautiful to look at. So it integrates a lot of things from brain pattern change all the way down to artisticness to practicality using it to do things that we do now, like social networking and mapping and sharing, crowdfunding and crowd creating, etc. The other game-changing innovation for me for NewMap, which goes a lot along with Holochain and Scepter, there's a huge compatibility between our two fields of like kindred, spiritness, and seeing, is what they call agent-centric. We've always seen as omni-centralization. So beyond decentralization and centralization is omni-centralization. Everyone is the center of the universe. So I think Holochain has that pretty much covered as far as explaining that. It's brain-like, it's biomimetic, so we've always been on that train. Bringing that into the infinite world game, the evolution of what we first saw as NewMap is what we call a hollow map. So like the world game as Bucky Fuller envisioned it. We have these different hollow maps for different supply chains, for different initiatives, and they're all connected to the big global map. The infinite world game is obviously going to be VR ready and holographic. Chris is working on researching some stuff called ARC and 3D interfaces. That's all in research and development, more than practical right now ready. We've got the AI thing called NULA, which we want to be a big part of this. And the Synergy Engine, working from the original inspiration of Barbara Marx Hubbard, but we've brought our own taste to that. So a Synergy Engine is like, I guess to keep it simple, is like, who needs a search engine when you can have a Synergy Engine? So that's like up-leveling, to keep it in layman's terms. Do you want to add anything? I'm just trying to be quick.
Yeah, our technology piece is huge. There's no way we can distill it in 2 minutes. I think I just want to emphasize a few things. Our holographic technology, which is currently visible through NewMap, will evolve massively, and it will therefore create a whole holographic operating system for co-creation, which is what the Infinite World game is about. So when we're talking about holons on this call, you're in your holon, yeah, and I'll come on to that, thanks Mona, and you're in this holon. What NewMap will allow us to do is organizing a holonic ecosystem, and that's what the Infinite World game is about, with all its co-creative dimensions. There's a lot of gamification in what we're doing. There's a lot of restructuring of the entire internet, which is where we're talking to Holochain. A member of our team is also on the Holochain team, Nico. We were calling our operating system Home for a while, which is a holographic internet foundation. And what that will reveal is NewMap will not look like it looks now. It looks much more like Iron Man-like. So you've all seen, like Iron Man, he interacts with his full body. We have a thing called Synapse, which are applications which are synergistically interconnected. I could go on and on and on. And then the last piece I wanted to mention is that once you place the wheel of co-creation, which has been a big subject on this call, within a holographic environment, technologically, it looks entirely different. We're talking about a multidimensional self-organizing system. This is waving. So let's bring technology, which is what we're doing here at the Infinite World Game, to these social architectures, because they come alive, they look entirely different.
Thank you so much. That is beautiful. And I am super resonant with that. Like, I cannot wait to see these holographic geometries. And so, Amber, you have something to say?
Yes, just briefly, just want to tie in the gravity network and superluminal systems and enlightened structures with what our Infinite World Game and Together team has just presented. And first and foremost, I would like to present, once again, that the technology will be in support of all walks of consciousness. Everyone will be able to, what you're hearing is very technical because we are the pioneers of this. We're having very like technical, nitty gritty, deep, esoteric conversations here because we're so that way, once it's built and developed, it's going to be like this really just smooth, fun, gamified, plug and play, which is where I want to tie in gravity network and superluminal systems, like I mentioned, that they're building this seamless application ecosystem or digital environment where literally you can plug and play. And so making it as simple as even children will be able to come on to this highly advanced technology new operating system and be able to work with it just as, highly intelligent being.
Thank
So,
you, Amber.
yes.
Let's continue to move forward because we have a few other groups to cover. We're on the Digital Life Collective. Are they with us?
Yeah, and actually the last few is Digital Life Collective and Social Ledger and Meta Maps. I think Robert and Jen, they can kind of all plug those 3 fields in and we'll just be done with this ecosystem actually.
Okie dokie. It sounds good. Let's get it over to Digital Life Collective.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Hi, Jen.
I guess Amber introduced the Digital Life Collective before. What's happening now is it's organizing. They're trying to get 1 million members to help create this thing that we're all trying to co-create. And I see all these people and all these things, and I'm just hoping that we can collaborate because we are working on one thing. The social ledger is a bot ecosystem, or aims to be a bot ecosystem on a peer-to-peer network. Technology today uses one-click install applications from Cloud and is partnering with Subutai to build a decentralized sharing network of computer resources where you can one-click install applications to the cloud, to DigitalOcean, or to my machine, or our own network that is based on peer-to-peer connections. The notion of a social ledger involves something much bigger than software will ever show. I mean, it's the ledger of everything we say and do together. And the social ledger prototype that we have now simply allows you to create a skeleton of those objects within the channels where we communicate. And there's a lot of mathematics and theory behind that. I'm not going to have time to get into it. But we're running a social ledger trial now with the prototype. And you can type /dig and get information about the social ledger trial. Now what we have is activities within channels, which are in this particular channel, I'm in the social ledger channel in Holochain, which you're invited to. And if I type /dig A, I'll get all the activities, or if I type out big activities, and it hasn't been curated too well. We have the hearts, which are norms, we have actions, we have links, we have goals, okay, and here we can commit to activities within the group. You can see here I checked social ledger to design, which you can link to right here. The idea is
sorry for interrupting, Jim, but we're not seeing your screen. You'll have to do a screen share if you're trying to show us something on there.
How do you like that? I done that again. Okay. I typed the /dig command, /dig in Mattermost in the social ledger channel in Holochain, and I got all the information regarding the social ledger trial. I type /dig A or /dig activities, and I should get everything I need to know about what's happening in this channel and what activities are and what I've committed to be a part of. And I can see I've committed green here to the social ledger to design. I bring new members to the circle while I'm doing that, so I can do from a little effort to hard, heavy sweat. I'll put medium effort in here, and then into the holonic structure of the organization. And I see Gary and I are engaged in that task. And I can go back and I can look at the whole social ledger channel, and I can see all of the activities and links that are in there.
Excuse me, Jim, is everyone seeing Jim's screen? I'm not.
I am seeing Jim's screen.
I am as well.
Thank you.
Okay. So where am I?
Hey Jim, I'm going to just interrupt you for the sake of time. Like we can do when we go into the tech thing, we can do a full introduction to the website and things like that.
I'm just going to show this very briefly. This is the Holochain community in the trial, and these are all the different organizations within the trial. Now we have this view. We're building, embarking on a MetaMaps view and a new maps view of the ledger, and each thing has tags or a name. Things that have the same name are linked across circles. Things that have links that are the same across circles link the circles. Okay, we have and I'll stop at after this. Pretty much we have the team and roles, sociocratic roles and levers of expertise. And we have the, a basic network graph of this. And we're not focused on any particular tool. We're focused on interoperation of tools and being able to call any API of any object from the social ledger. And ultimately working toward having that holonic structure revealed. And our chain co-op is cooperating with this. Currently, they're providing funding. If I can drop out of this. There's a lot of rock currency available. So please, we need developers bad, and we can pay them.
Yes, Jim, may I have my 2 minutes of fame now?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Gary Coulter, and I'm a member of the Art Chain Cooperative first, and now I'm a member of the Digital Life Collective, and I spend most of my time evangelizing for the social ledger. And I see the social ledger as a language allowing the members to democratically control and examine and use the metadata associated with these social objects that Jim has been talking about. So that's about all I wanted to say, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, everybody's king is what I say in the social ledger, because the norms enforce the structure. There's nothing in the social ledger itself that says what norms this channel should have or how it should operate or make decisions or distribute tokens. Every team is autonomous. Well, every person is autonomous, and you have peer-to-peer connections in private channels, and it's all made of connections and channels and patterns on those channels that generate action. So they're programmable in the sense that the patterns in the messages on the channel cause the actions to occur, and ultimately will allow us to do the process orchestration of these processes. And each has its own persona or identity in every context it's in. It does, and then, the universal context is whatever context you can see. Currently, we're working on the social ledger 2 design, which we want to put on Holochain. Currently, we're on Firebase. So we're supposed to be doing technical now. We will be we're looking to first on Holochain and on Firebase to develop the decentralized identifier directory, which is the standard of the rebooting the web of trust and the Internet Identity Workshop, which provides identities that we can control. We don't have to pay for them. That are universally recognized service discovery mechanism. So I can discover what services an object offices, and I know what API to call with what parameters to get it. So we essentially make available to the ordinary user all of the APIs out there in the bot ecosystem.
Yes, thank you, Jim. I'm gonna stop you there. It's really amazing, good information, and I'm really looking forward for you to dive in with the different more centralized groups. We really, have to focus in our future meetings to be as concise as possible and to arrive to these meetings fully prepared to make short, very concise shares. Everybody did a really, really good job. I just am reinstating it, and we want to be really clear and concise. And thank you, Brett, for being such a good support of my heart space. And so I will give it over to Amber. She's going to actually, first, let's just take a few breaths and, really integrate all of the things that are coming through in the technology so our cellular intelligence can guide us. Thank you, everyone, for these moments and time. And we'll be handing it over to Amber. She's going to do a mini summary and then talk about the next steps for us to start to first collaborate. We'll get into these things in our smaller groups and talk about the kind of language that we want to use amongst ourselves within the ecosystems. It's going to be a really good thing, and like a part of the agreements that Josh was talking about before, that I know that Andrea and S7 has amazing information about. But we want to just start by using the resources that we have to start communicating with each other on a regular basis, so it's really easy and clear, and we can know what each other's up to as we move forward, and we don't have to have super involved meetings like this all the time, but we can do it in perfect timing as things unfold. So Amber.
Yes, beautiful. And actually, this is a huge part of our technology meeting that we're going to propose for January, is actually to come into an agreement that we have tools right now and technological applications that we can integrate into one platform that will allow us for more seamless communication and also to track the emergence. So we truly can just keep tracking it and then come into meetings only as necessary. And when we come into meetings, it's very concise and to the point. And so this is one of our goals as NEGA, is that we will be mastering how to create highly effective, highly efficient meetings that feel very concise to the point and feel more light on us. So this one is a huge introduction. We did the best that we could to make it as light as possible, for considering how complex. I mean, we're talking about a whole new planetary operating system just in this meeting. So I think we did really well, and we can even finesse it and do even better. So with that being said, one of the things that Jem didn't share, which is a huge aspect of us being able to do that, is him and his team are working on developing applications for the different communications platforms to communicate with each other. For instance, some teams use Slack, some teams use Mattermost, some teams use Riot. Well, we need those platforms communicating with each other, and in a visual mapping system of tracking the emergence of those ecosystems. For those of you who don't know, this is one of the major things that the elite have controlled us by. They have created barriers to stop the flow of communication through many different dimensions and levels. So we are cracking those codes, removing those barriers, and opening the flow of communications through the ecosystems, which will allow us to begin to communicate and operate at a planetary level, which in return will allow us to create an impact at a planetary level, which is what's needed in this time and space that we're in. So with that being said, I would like to, Ray, are you still here with us?
I am.
Yes, I would like to hand it over to Ray. We would like to suggest that in January, the 4 ecosystems that have been with us here in this meeting, we would like to schedule a ecosystem meeting. So the social architects come together, the economic ecosystem come together, and we want to get really grounded into what are the real world applications that can start being implemented, and what is the language that we are going to use across all scales. So that way we can start plugging that information into the NEGA meta map, which will once again track our communications, track our emergence, And eventually this will be able to open up to the rest of the planet, where we'll be able to track the health of the connections and what's missing. And so I'd like to just present one thing before I hand it over to Ray, which will kind of be the closing of the meeting as far as information. I'm going to share my screen really quick. So the NEGA will be presenting, since this will just be the beginning of the mapping of things. We are going to recreate this beautiful digital interconnected heart, and you'll be able to see your organization's node and the connections that it has to all the other nodes. And when something is like, let's say, the Digital Life Collective and Social Ledger is like, something went wrong in the applications, then you're going to see one of those lines is going to turn green, right? And that's going to be for us to go, okay, what part of our tech team is tracking when those notifications go off, because that's the health of our global heart in this planetary operating system that we're developing. This will also give a visual view to everyone to come and see and click on each one of these nodes and know what's going on, and see also where the funding is filtering in, and what nodes it's going to, and what nodes need more funding and more team members, and et cetera. So we can really track everything.
Great.
And yeah, so I'm going to hand it over to Ray for our onboarding process, which is very, very simple.
It is hopefully simple, and yes, it's a big leap, and it's a big leap of faith, and it's a big ask. So again, in the sense of where this co-governance is attempting to boil down some really basic elements of what is common about any organization operating in any mode that they operate in. We're trying to compile those similar parameters about each different organization that's present here, and the many more that we're all associated with, and start to build the visual webs that are being presented. Jim presented one beautiful version that is ready now, and then Amber presented the kind of a more futuristic version that we can get to, of a really 3D browsable, like energetic flow patterning system. But either way, and what we have available now is ready in many ways. And it just takes a certain level of consensus and consent among the group that's here to say, yeah, we agree these are some really basic parameters that create a framework from within which we all have the freedom to operate the way that's particularly nice for our organization. It's most effective and most evolutionary in our operating group. So as we agree on this registration system, there's probably better language for that, right? But as we agree on this means of sharing our publicly with each other and the world, our organizations, ourselves, and what we're up to as a first step, right? So that we become a node on the map that way. The second step is to register, share with the world again, transparently who we're aligning with, what other organizations we're aligning with, and how we're aligning with them. And from those 2 points of information, we can get both nodes on the map, and we can get the lines connecting the nodes. And as that continues to evolve, we'll start to see patterns emerging organically. And so that gives us the information we need to start, as each one of us, from an agent-centric viewpoint, to start seeing how we see it all forming. And if we think from that top-down perspective, if we would like to kind of nudge it one way or the other, we all share the same information to kind of nudge the top-down formational aspects of a global web of exchange, and a global web of resource management, and a global web of governance, whatever that word's going to be. Co-governance is really what we're doing. And so we're governing ourselves, we're sharing data, we're sharing metrics about how that governance is working and how the different flows in the current are forming. And so that's the proposal that we convene very quickly with a task force to finalize the parameters of a means of registering our organizations and ourselves, both as what we're doing and what our parameters of operation are in a very transparent way, who our stakeholders are, who has, you know, voting power, for lack of better terms, who has equity holdings, for lack of better terms. You know, these are kind of the basic metrics, but having discussions that we can really firm up, that we all agree these are really basic things that are common across all ways of operating. And then from that point, start getting that data compiled and start getting our visual maps together that we can all see and start building on, start reacting to some of the metrics that are presented to us. So we're actually simplifying the flows of information. We're actually making our lives much simpler because we have the data now to make intelligent decisions of how we're affecting the ecosystem. And in the sense of, you know, knowing how each of our actions are affecting everything that's present on the planet and in our reality, this gives us tools to better do that. And so that's really the goal.
Thank you. I'm just going to cut in really quickly because I know a few people really have to leave. And before they do, I want to just create a game plan, just very, very briefly, that what we're going to do is we're going to send out an email that will have the information and the links that we need to drop into these new technologies, just for collaboration and tracking each other and being able to unite into these new meetings. So you'll be expecting an email of that where we can all just, like, you know, discuss some registration systems and look at the stuff that Ray is proposing and that Jim has to offer. And we'll also create a timeline for the different ecosystems to get together, because we really think it's important for us, now that we have a bigger picture, to convene with each other on a smaller scale and deeply and intimately share with each other in a facilitated and focused way. So that's what's on the itinerary for the upcoming week. Is we'll be putting together some emails and some invitations for you to so we can start breaking out into our little nodules and then start bringing in the support systems for that, using meta maps and using Jim's software, the Digital Life Collective, to communicate across the board for now as like our working support system.
And Mattermost as well. So Mattermost will be our communications platforms. Those of you who don't use Mattermost, we will work very diligently to get those communications platforms communicating with each other and see if there's any other ways that we can work around that until those applications are developed.
Yeah, and Mattermost is on the social ledger now. The others will be soon. Hopefully, we have some funding.
We'll get all of the totally viable links to the people who need them.
The main thing that all of our communities have to do is identity and the co-governance or whatever. And, you know, I really believe that double linking in a sociocratic fashion between the communities is what will do collective intelligence. We can't have top-down organization only. We have to have linking across the communities explicitly in the social ledger or elsewhere in order for us to get that collective intelligence and cooperation between the groups.
Great, and we'll be having a meeting to discuss that directly. So I'm kind of aware of who has spoken certain language that would be probably good to help us lay out what this registry will look like. So everyone will be getting the emails of, you know, the landscape to participate. For January. So thank you so much.
And what I would like to propose is we can drop into a little bit more of some brainstorming and some deeper shares after a few people leave, because I think there's some really important key holders that are going to exit before we ground down. So I just want to invite in a little grounding of heart space. It'll be very brief but very powerful. So I just invite you beautiful beings and all of the people who have joined us, and gratitude for those who have showed up and had to leave early. Just to take a few breaths, become aware of our hearts. And really begin to become aware of all of the energy that is sinking into the intelligence of our bodies, all the information that has been shared with us. Allow it to penetrate into you and integrate into your cellular intelligence, so that every decision that is made from this point going forward is fully aligned with the cosmic will, fully aligned with our soul's truth and our own discernment, fully aligned with cosmic intelligence and our heart space that is connected to all things. Feeling all the information dispersing and releasing, acquiring a lightness, an ease and simplicity as all of the complex systems fall away and the most simple and pure form emerges in all of our co-creation. Feeling the simplicity in our heart, our minds, and our haras. Allowing anything that doesn't serve to just drop down and be released to the earth so she may compost it and bring about new grace. Awareness back into the heart space, and gratitude for yourselves for showing up in this integrity and this wisdom, and this patience and this deep receptivity. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
We really are. We have to dash off as a whole team. We really want to say thank you so much for the hosting of this and what you've done to bring everybody here together. And I knew I was due a little piece at the end of this. I think we've just guessed that that's appropriate for the next session. So I didn't want to go off without saying that. And Juan Carlos just has a little magical thing to share with everybody before we go, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, just as we are celebrating today the solstice, as we started the meeting, suddenly my cell phone started ringing someone. I mean, suddenly I calling someone magically. And that was a friend of mine that is like a very respected elder, a shaman in Mexico, the Abuelo Antonio. And suddenly he picked up my phone, my phone call that I started doing without intention. And they were in the middle of a ceremony, about to start a ceremony in Chichen Itza. And he was with a set of Mayan elders. And they said, well, for a reason, you have to call us as soon as we are about to start the ceremony. So we were receiving, as we continued the meeting, all the blessings for the Mayan elders in Itza. So that's some of the magic. This is for me like an omen that this is important, what is going to emerge out of this. We really see this lesson.
Yes.
Yeah, we love you so much. I love you so much. And I'm so grateful for you all showing up and everything that each one of you is doing in such a great way. And I really do look forward for the falling away of all of the complexities and the emergence through our natural resonance of this simplicity of everything that we're doing. in a language that is universal and just completely beyond anything. And I feel it, I sense it, and I see it in each and every one of you. So thank you for your time and your energy. And so we'll close with that and that beautiful magical Mayan blessing of, I know that there was massive ceremonies that were happening and that the timing of this was absolutely perfect. So thank you.
Well,
and
before everyone drops, we must honor you, Lindsay, for your holding space in such a glorious, sensitive, powerful way. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. So beautiful facilitation. Oof.
Thank you so much. And so what we're going to do, I will be sharing this recording with everybody, so we'll be able to reflect on it. And so we'll close, but we'll have it open because I know that there's a couple of other shares and some people who are still interested in talking. I want to honor our brother Gavin with his information, and I know that Jim wanted to say a few things. So maybe we'll have, if Ray and Jim have anything, last things to say about the new systems that we can tap into immediately. Just to have it on the recording, and so we can start utilizing that and sharing that with other people.
I actually think that would be best once the technology meeting happens, because there's a lot of fine tuning right now. So yeah, we'll definitely have a solid update of the technology ecosystem in January with real world applications ready to go.
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you, Amber. And so Gavin, what says he?
So thank you. Just a very quick share about the acronym NEGA, N-E-G-A. Immediately makes me think of negative and old school mega corporations. So in the quest for simplicity, I was moved by what you were saying earlier about, you know, the sacred feminine holding the sacred masculine. And this is about Mother Earth. And so my suggestion is we drop the G, because Earth actually signifies global. So Nia, and Nia to me is like the feminine holding Neo in the Matrix, right? So I just offer that as a seed, you know, a suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Planted.
There's no, you know, once again, the beautiful part is that all of this is co-evolving. So I'm in full support of that. I love that. I didn't like Nega either, but it just ended up that way. And I knew that once we came into our collective intelligence, something would be birthed from it. So yeah, I feel like I could go ahead and share that with our graphic designer and get those changes over pretty much right away. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I am feeling fully complete, and I'm also still energized, which usually doesn't happen after a 3-hour meeting. And I'm actively, constantly bringing that in as my truest intention as a facilitator, is to keep the focus and the energy up so that we walk away from our meetings feeling inspired and thriving, so that we can put that energy into our work and not drain and exhausted. And so with that intention, I will continue to be in service to each and every one of you. If there is something that you need to have facilitated in an unaffiliated party, I've been more active in this one because it's a part of my work, but the best facilitation is one that isn't super connected to the group that is being facilitated, as unaffiliated. And so I'm totally here at your service, completely free of charge or just reciprocated energy, love field, to help facilitate some of these more important focus meetings. This is a huge one, but when we have small groups of people of 7 or less or 12 or less, it's on, and we can do it like super, super fast and really focused. So I'm just offering that to all of you as we move forward, because this is part of my gift and my passion. So just really grateful.
That was kind of already written in the book. So I think that you and Tan and myself will definitely be, you know, co-facilitating the next unfoldment of these ecosystems as the guidance is channeling in on how the pieces need to be rolled out. And you'll see a link inside the chat room for the public channel of New Earth Global Alliance. So for any further questions or conversations, you can go there. And also, it is on the New Earth Global site. There are 9 private channels, which in January or within a week or so, people who have been on this meeting will get direct invites to our other channels. And we've done it so they're all private and not public, because we want to keep these channels extremely concise and filtered, and basically feeling very light on everyone, because everyone else is already in all these deep conversations with their close organizations that they're working in. So we really just want to be straight to the point here, and we're going to be making sure that that's maintained that way.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And in closing, I just want to give another just super rainbow love wave of gratitude to every one of you, and also especially Sam and Substance, who are still with us, just being the eyes and ears of Guan Yin and hearing and receiving and just showing up in such a really special way, to know that they're being heard in their hearts, and their role is so important as space holders. And so thank you so much for showing up and just receiving this information and putting it into the collective heart. So really
Thank you, Sam. Thank
Yeah.
you, Substance, for holding space for this container.
Yeah. So many kisses.
Wonderful job, Lindsay, and we could definitely use you in a number of our contexts.
Excellent. I'm here at your service, and we're on this ship together. We just onboarded, so here we go. And we're looking forward to doing this and more focused and grounding it into earth-based projects, some real land-based projects that are coming forward that are going to be amazing models of land that has been given to us to work on and funnel our resources into. It's absolutely amazing. So once we get this tech stuff going, we're going to be able to flourish in the springtime. And so I'm really looking forward to helping connect that too. So all of the good things.
And one last note, by the way, as Jim said, we are looking for more tech people. I will get with Jim and I'll create a proper proposal for that so we can send it out to all of our networks. And, that's very critical to us. The more people we can get on working in integrity with the same mission, the quicker we can get these systems out to people and all the levels of applications that we're looking to, evolve. So thank you.
Calling all stars. Calling all Yes, thank you, Amber, for your just beautiful presence and all the amazing presentations and the work that you've done to bring this all together. Just tireless channeled expression, and I'm just so grateful to be in your presence. So
thank you all.
May it all continue to co-evolve and co-create into the new earth, which is already here. Heaven on earth, my friends. We'll be seeing you very soon. And I'm so down to just drop in with any of you one-on-one also. So just give me a call.
Mahalo.
This is deja vu, back to the 60s.
Many blessings.
Many blessings. Thank you, Jan. Oh, and per Jan's request, yes, we would love to get everyone's contact info on the mind map. I'll be updating the mind map, getting it super clear and precise, and working diligently with all the organizations to make sure it's
just like a kiss.
Yeah. So, mahalo.
Mahalo, aloha, oha.